Chapter 1. One morning in Jura City Market. A large city ruled by one of the largest families of the duchy, the Burton family, which makes its market always crowded. Between the screams of sellers and the stampede of buyers, discussions on various topics were everywhere, but one topic in particular was of interest to many. What will happen in the tournament that Duke Alton will hold this year? Hey, who do you think will win the youth tournament this year? Is there anyone else? Definitely Robin Burton. Hey, you're right. The Burton family has recently gained a true genius. Although there are many geniuses in his generation, he is simply overpowered. Haha, man, even his family members are pressured because of him. The Burtons. Oh, I really envy them. Things haven't gone very well over the last millennium for them. I'm afraid to admit it, but I think this young man might be able to change their destiny. Conversations like this can be heard all around the town, even though the competition itself is somewhat symbolic, but it was everything in the eyes of the youngsters. Meanwhile, two smiling teenagers were passing through the main road of the market. One of them said, "You hear that, Robin? Looks like your win was decided before you even walk into the ring." Although he's been Robin's friend since they started learning how to talk, just walking next to him now has become a psychological pressure on him. It is worth noting that Robin did not fight once in his lifetime. He was always 2 or 3 levels above his age group, which made his peers feel intimidated just approaching him, and the older ones didn't dare approach him for fear that the Burton family would consider them bullying their first genius and be killed. Perhaps someone else would have taken the initiative to challenge those older than him like it is told in the stories about saints and sages in their youth, but he never did that. He preferred to stay put in his little house. Alone for almost his entire life, no one knows what he is doing or what he is thinking, but he is still the #1 genius in terms of training speed, at least, and this is an indisputable fact. Robin laughed. "I don't even want to join this tournament." "Hey, Billy, why don't you join? I think you have a good chance." "Me? Stop kidding me, please. You are the only genius of our generation who has reached the 10th level of Energy Foundation. Everyone in the Duchy of Alton has heard of you. The next strongest person in the younger generation is at the 7th layer, and he is a year older than you. But I'm hardly in the 5th level. I'm afraid I will be beaten till my mother doesn't recognize me," he said disappointedly and shook his head. Robin looked at him with an eyebrow raised. "So what? Just go and do your best. Isn't that what matters?" "I'm really not going. There's nothing interesting about it. Secondly, the prizes didn't interest me." Billy looked like he was about to cry. "Huh? 10 high-quality slaves and 1,000 gold coins aren't enough for your majesty anymore. Haha, what do I do with slaves? I'm still young and I don't need them. And even if it was 10,000 coins, I wouldn't care. What do I do with them? I'd rather spend my time training than that nonsense." Billy paused for a moment and turned to Robin, who was a few steps ahead of him, before smiling, shaking his head, and quickly following him. Wherever he went, Robin was always the center of attention. How could he not be? The #1 genius in the vast duchy territory? No, even at the level of the entire Black Sun Kingdom, he would definitely be one of the competitors for the title of the best. This is in addition to his strong build, his sharp and proud features, and his strong presence that he has been acquired over time. All this made him an ideal for many boys and the husband in many girls' dreams. As soon as the hour Robin had set for himself to relax has ended, he stood and looked around slowly as if he wants to burn everything he saw into his memory, thinking, who knows, this might be the last time I see this sight. He then took Billy and headed toward Burton's land. The land is an area of about a square kilometer filled with many houses, warehouses, other different buildings, and surrounded with high walls. It is technically a city within the city, but this is understandable. The family has a history of 6,000 years, with the number of those who bear the surname Burton is a few tens of thousands. And this is still not adding the count of their slaves, mercenary army, and so on. This inner city cannot even contain all of those. When the guards saw Robin the hero in their eyes, they quickly left what was in their hands and lined up on both sides of the gate to salute him with big smiles hanging on their faces. This young man in front of them is their pride. Although they are mere slaves of the Burton family, they at least can boast of serving the one who has shined all over the lands of the duchy. "Haha, Robin, there you are. I've been looking you for since I heard you got out of that little house of yours. Where have you been?" Robin turned, seeing a middle-aged heading his way. That was his father. If there is one person who has benefited from Robin's skyrocketing rise, it is undoubtedly this man. Before, he was a distant relative of the main branch of the Burton family, just one of the tens of thousands. But after the emergence of his son, his position in the family rose and became respected by everyone, and most importantly, his allowance had increased dramatically. However, this allowance was not used in the appropriate manner that everyone was waiting for, like supporting his son, for example. But he was using it to marry again. Yes, Robin's father's mission in life since discovering his son's talent has been to marry or buy new female slaves, on the pretext that he wants to support the family with another genius of his strong line. Although the rest of his peers and elders looked down on him, they supported him in his decision. Who knows? That lucky moron might do it again and bring them another genius. Unfortunately, his attempts were always unsuccessful. In the span of 5 years, he had 12 half-brothers and sisters for Robin, and none of them showed any unique talent, but this did not prevent him from continuing his heroic attempts. Although polygamy and owning sex slaves is a common thing, Robin didn't like the idea that his father neglected his mother because of him, and certainly did not like the idea that he considered him something he made and could repeat at any time. "Good morning, father," replied Robin, still smiling. "I just finished my retreat today and decided to go out for a little walk. Do you need me for something?" His father came closer, smelling of wine. "Hee, I just wanted to ask you about your preparations for the competition. You'll be there, right?" "No," Robin said, still smiling like ever. Is this a joke? Damn, I knew you'd say something like that again. But the prize is 1,000 gold coins and 10 high-quality slaves. Don't you know the value of the money? Even my monthly allowance doesn't exceed 50 gold coins." Robin's father shrieked, his face flushed red as if he is about to pounce on his son. "I don't need money. As long as I'm under 16, the family would provide me with the training resources and basics I need. Why should I waste my time on such a petty thing without any motive? I'm not that free. If you don't need the money, then win it and give it to me. Your old man's expenses have been increasing lately. You know, hee. Sorry, father. I'm going to start studying the heavenly laws, and I can't waste my time on anything else." He finally reached the limits of his patience and raised his hands, ready to hit his son's face. "You disobey your father again, you vile thing." Chapter 2. "Robin, the patriarch wants to meet you. What's going on here?" A voice suddenly echoed. When they turned, they found a middle-aged man with a thick beard coming towards them. "Nothing, uncle. I'll go to the patriarch right away." "Excuse me, father." Robin said it while a smile was still stuck on his face, then headed towards the patriarch's manor, leaving his partly drunk father behind grinding his teeth. Throughout his way, he did not stop nodding his head to everyone he saw. They all greeted him in different ways. The adults nodded with a smile, and the young men greeted him loudly, and some of the weaker ones were even bowing in front of him. "Hello, Uncle Murphy. I heard that the patriarch wants me," Robin said to the guard after he reached a huge building. "Oh, Sir Robin, please stop calling me uncle. I'm just a guard here. And yeah, Master is waiting for you inside. Come in." Murphy laughed and led Robin inside. Robin walked into the office and looked around. The place was still majestic in his eyes as ever, decorated with beast heads and expensive antiques. In the middle of the room, a smiling old man sitting behind a desk looking at him. "Welcome, Robin. Getting to see you is as hard as ever." "Sorry about that. I've been in a retreat lately to break through to level 10. I couldn't be disturbed," Robin said while scratching his head. "Haha, forget it. I'm glad you reached the 10th level. Come on, sit down. I think we need to talk. Patriarch, if you intend to convince me about participating in the competition, then please don't. You would only waste your time." "The competition? Do you even need to participate? Even if you don't go, who would dare say he's better than you? If you wanted the 1,000 gold coins and the 10 slaves, I'd give them to you now." "Thank you. The normal allowance for my age group is more than enough for me," Robin said with a slight smile as he sat in front of the patriarch. "Hey, you're always like this. Your monthly allowance is a little higher than that of a mercenary. Why don't you let me raise it for you? You've reached your current level almost without any support. I shudder every time I think of your accomplishments if you'd let me pour all the family's resources into your training. But that will forever owe me to the family, right? I don't like being in debt." The patriarch went silent and looked at Robin for a long time, not knowing what to say. This is not the first time such a conversation took place. He always tried to start the topic again. Perhaps the outcome would be different. Technically, they did not support him with anything other than the simple monthly allowance and the normal techniques they give to the slaves. No, rather it can be said that Robin has already paid his debts with a large surplus, just by his presence and fame, which contributed largely to facilitating the family business. The patriarch always wanted to find an opportunity to shower him with money and resources, but this was rejected by Robin himself, which made him go crazy thinking about it. Why was he doing this? Is it because Robin's idiot father made him lose the sense of belonging? Or because of his pride as a genius? Or both? What Robin showed was a pure talent. He did not have a special teacher or found a super technique, but was born with a soul much stronger than average with which he could discover the right track more quickly. As you wish, I generally invited you here to ask you about your future path. After reaching the 10th level, you will have to choose a minor heavenly law to build your pillars for the next levels. Have you chosen yet? No. What do you mean by no? Energy cultivators choose their path from the 5th level and start simple preparations before reaching the 10th level. What takes you so long? Whatever. What minor law do you want? I will get you its cultivation technique. I don't want a minor law cultivation technique, said Robin hesitantly. What do you mean? You don't like the ones we have? Then which minor law do you want? I will see if I can get it for you. Want to discover one of my own. Robin took a deep breath and said, that's it. The moment he was most afraid of has finally came. The family had opened his eyes completely and shouted, what did you say? Discovering laws and creating its cultivation techniques is the task of the sages. Even I don't have the qualifications to discover laws yet. The patriarch was feeling like he wanted to strangle Robin to death when he heard his words. The world really has many heavenly paths to take, and every heavenly path consists of one major law and countless minor ones. For example, the path of water has one major law which is called the same as the path water, while those like dew, spring flow, and raindrops are considered minor heavenly laws, and they are basically countless. According to the progress of the research on a heavenly law and how complete the technique of controlling it, the strength of the fighter using this heavenly law would increase or decrease. Indeed, there are many undiscovered laws, but this is the task of the sages standing on top of the world. They have the knowledge, power, and time needed to contemplate the world, identify the laws, research it fully, then pass the technique of using them to their followers and the forces they established. For example, the current king of the Black Sun Kingdom took dozens of years to discover 2 minor laws, fire shards reflected beam. But a child who has not yet established his pillars wants to discover a law of his own? This is never heard of, and if he heard it from someone he would tell him to scram. This is simply impossible. Stop your nonsense. Don't let your thoughts lead you stray. I am aware of the consequences of what I have said, patriarch, but it is already decided. You simply want to throw everything you have in the garbage? Why? Because I hate this damn life. What's so good about being the strongest? No, rather it is better to say I am the strongest of the younger generation here, in the rest of the 9 duchies of the Black Sun Kingdom or the other 7 kingdoms. In 4 empires there are many geniuses like me, and even better. Every year geniuses are born and follow the same prescribed path. What will change in the world in this way? There is no reason for me to train and get stronger, to hit this and compete with that. All I gain from my genius is a life without friends or loved ones. Those of my age hate me, and my elders are trying all kinds of ways to exploit me. And for what? What happens when I grow up on the same steps outlined? Be like my father and become a stallion to have talented children and make them repeat the cycle? Or perhaps become like you and run some inherited business? No, that's not what I want. That's not what I was born for. Robin exploded, surprising the patriarch. The patriarch didn't know what to say. Robin was always the silent, smiling type. He got the job done without a word and progressed in his training without being noticed. He's simply the perfect member of any family. Has he been a volcano ready to erupt all these years? Patriarch Brian went silent for a while and said, no, you don't realize the consequences of your decision. Discovering a minor law takes a sage about 20 years, and you can't advance to level 11 without choosing a law to build your pillars with. You say you want to stop your training for dozens of years. This is a crime against yourself, against your mother, against your whole family. The patriarch shouted, scaring the guards outside. The Burton family wasn't huge in the kingdom of the Black Sun, but they weren't small either. During their 6,000-year heritage, the family's ancestors managed to control enough lands and were awarded the title of Marquess twice. But after each time, a bad generation of heirs would come and lose their lands, whether by war or by gambling and selling, until the total size returned to enough to form an earldom. As it is now, the patriarch of the Burton family, also known as Earl Brian. All the family members, from the youngest to the eldest, were wishing to reclaim their lands and take the title of a Marquess for the third time in their history. This alone would be a great achievement that they could die in peace after. The patriarch has been holding high hopes for Robin to become a high-level saint or even a sage someday and lead them to their goal. But he never thought it would come to this. Or maybe he did, as Robin refused to fight meaningless fights all his life. He just refused to see the truth. Chapter 3. Robin went silent for a moment in front of the patriarch, shouting, then said, I've thought about all of this. My mother is still one of my father's official wives and will not be harmed as long as she is within the family land. As for the family, I will compensate you for my absence after I achieve my goal. As for me, I know that wasting 20 years of my life would make me an ordinary person when I reach level 11, but that is my choice, and I will not regret it. Huh? Ha ha ha, 20 years. That's how long it takes the sages to discover the most average of minor laws. You, a 10th level kid, think you'll take a mere 20 years? I know you were born with a soul that is stronger than the average and your comprehension rate is high, but to put yourself on the same level as the sages? Robin, you have disappointed me. I thought you were smarter than this. Patriarch Brian laughed angrily and hit his desk hard. 20 years to discover and research a law to the point of controlling it? Assuming that his strong spirit for some reason gave him this ability, and he really did it. What next? He will be at least 34 years old. At level 11, with his pillars are made up of a minor law that has not been fully studied yet. This is simply trash. The more the head of the family thinks about the situation, the angrier he becomes. I will compensate you for my absence after I achieve my goal. What compensation is he talking about? What will a middle-aged trash do? What will benefit the family then? Put him to guard the gates. Robin, I know the family doesn't own you, and by the rules, you can do whatever you want as long as you return to defend the family if we're under attack. But I beg you to reconsider. Why don't you go sit with your mom for a while and talk about it, huh? A real beggary look appeared on Patriarch for a moment. Robin was surprised by those words greatly. This is not just an old man, but a venerable who holds the position of an earl. He is a person who rules a huge area of land, mines, and cities. Certainly, his words were not easy. All right, I'll think more about it. If there's nothing else, then excuse me. I leave you to do more important things, said Robin, after recovering the smile that had been on his face all his life. When the patriarch saw him behaving like this, he decided not to pressure him anymore. Go. I hope you come back to your senses before it's too late. Go. In a large backyard, Robin sat next to his mother and told her about his argument with the patriarch. This was the only person he could talk to freely, knowing that she doesn't hate or want to use him. My son, tell your mother directly. Is there a chance of changing your mind? No. Robin looked sad and shook his head. His mother did not know what to say. She suffered a lot before Robin was born because of his drunk father, who continued to beat her for no reason, and she suffered even more after his birth because his father held more money in his hand and his expenses on alcohol and women had only increased. But at least now she had a hope to see Robin becoming more famous and respected, maybe one day become the patriarch of the Burtons. Then do what you see right. Your mother will support you in whatever you choose. Finally, a hearty smile appeared on her face as tears rolled and pulled her son into her lap. She knew her son very well, the competitions, the family leadership, etc. He didn't care about that. Robin was so smart that he couldn't find anyone to understand him. Even she couldn't understand what he really wanted. Maybe Robin's decision isn't so bad. At least her son will get away from all the pressure he is facing, start a family of his own somewhere else, and live a happy little life. Or at least that's what I was hoping for. Robin did not shed a single tear while hugging his mother. They did not have a close relationship to begin with. Since his strong soul appeared at the age of 3, he was taken to intensive training and tests, and then contentious retreats, which made him live a dry, emotionless life. Every one of his age wished for his talent and hated him because of it, but he had moments when he wished he was a normal person. After about 20 more minutes of talking with his mother, Robin returned to his own house and sat in a meditative position in front of the small pond in his yard, thinking, "What kind of law should I choose? Search in the minor laws of the path of fire? No, this was done by many before me. The path of water? Wind? There are many of those too. If I am going to give up on everything for a new law, the path itself must be new." After thinking to this point, his mind went blank for a while. A new path? Even a minor heavenly law of the already known paths takes the sages decades to complete researching. The history of the known world dates back to about 50,000 years. During this period, the sages had discovered about 20 heavenly paths, of which they only completed the control techniques of 4 major heavenly laws and less than 1,000 minor heavenly laws. Yes, discovering the potential of a path doesn't necessarily mean you can control it. Like the heavenly path of space, every sage knows of its existence, but none has ever succeeded in completing the research on the major or even a minor heavenly law in this path. This is what others thinking is true. Am I really crazy? I'm just a teenager. How am I going to figure out a whole path? No. How did I even dare to think about it? It is worth noting that each of the ancient sages who discovered a major law became an emperor of his time, ruling everything under the heaven without a competitor, even though they could only use the first order of the law. And to a minimal extent, that's because the only way to use a law freely is to build the 11 LVL pillars with it. Not a single one has ever discovered a heavenly path or even completed the technique of major heavenly law when he was as old or as weak as Robin. Rather, they all started after reaching high cultivation levels and took them hundreds or even thousands of years to research them. Robin was in awe when he thought about it, but he quickly calmed down. Wasn't that what he wanted from the start? The boredom of being alone on top was killing him. What he wanted was a chance to be a legend and leave his name in history, or just die in a dark alley and get over with it. He refused for his life story to be written on a gray page. He refused to live between petty competitions between the young generation and a petty struggle for land and business. Success or death. All or nothing. Staying here and thinking will do me no good. I have to find a suitable environment to meditate on the heavenly laws to find what I am looking for, though Robin. And so he made the decision. Or it should be said that he confirmed it. This decision has been in his head since he was 8, the year in which he altered the family energy cultivation technique a little to draw more energy within less time. This was a cultivation technique passed down through thousands of years. Since that moment, he spent more time altering the cultivation technique than actually cultivating. This became the only joy in his life. The feeling of creating something new was much more satisfying than what his elders were telling him to do. As for his miraculous cultivation speed, it was just a side effect of the altered cultivation technique. But he didn't tell anyone about it. As his father was useless, he had no one to speak up for him. He feared that he would be used as a machine for the rest of his life. Yes, he loved the research process, but he wanted to do it his way. Not some old man telling him to modify this and create something for that. His pride would never allow it. He would never allow it. The first thing he did the next morning was to go to his mother and give her a last farewell hug, then go to his only friend Billy and asked him to convey to the patriarch that Robin has made up his mind and is leaving today for training. Although Billy did not understand, he agreed to deliver the message. He did not realize that this simple farewell would last for a very long time. Chapter 4. On a road next to a small village, about 100 kilometers from the city of Jura, there is a handsome teenager with a large bag on his back, walking with faltering steps. Steps towards achieving unparalleled success. Or death. With every step, Robin revises his decisions and wonders if what he's doing is the right thing. Every now and then he would stop for a moment till finds enough courage to keep his legs moving again without looking back. It was a difficult decision. Maybe if he had one true friend or even a good parental relationship, he wouldn't have chosen this path. But this is his destiny and cannot be changed. He can only control what comes next. And what comes next for him was a few dozen years of meditation. For any ordinary young man, this is the definition of the word torment. He found nothing to drive him forward except his firm will, and that nothing was waiting for him even if he returned. His destination of choice was the Outer Beast Zone, a desolate place about 300 kilometers from Jura City, filled with mountains, swamps, and forests. It wasn't very vast, but it was a forbidden area for those below the 6th level. However, it was considerably safe for an energy cultivator at the 10th level. The monsters in it were basically a source of meat for someone of his strength, and the lack of humans in the area made it an ideal place to live secluded for a long time. A few more days passed quickly. The outskirts of the Outer Beast Zone appeared in front of him. After hesitating for a few moments, he resolved and entered it, started looking for his new home for the coming years. He didn't have high standards. A hole in a mountain would do. But even so, it took him a few days until he found a decent cave high enough from the ground. It is true that the cave was the residence of 2 level 7 snapping bears, but he easily dealt with them and occupied the cave. Robin sat deep in the cave in a meditating position, looking at the entrance, thinking, "What now, Robin? Which path will you take? Maybe the path of the plants? No. How is this different from the paths of natural elements such as wind and water? I need something new." At his level, Robin can stay in meditation for a few days without needing to eat or drink. And that's exactly what he did. After 5 days without any success, his stomach rumbled, "Well, I can't figure out paths and change the world with an empty stomach." Robin went and took large pieces of the bear meat that he dried up earlier, then head towards the entrance of the cave, kindled a fire, and sat down to grill his first good meal in days. When he was about to bite off the first piece of his food, he heard a screaming sound coming from afar. It was the sound of a human female screaming. What's a girl doing in a place like this? Robin thought to himself, then rushed toward the voice direction. About 200 meters away, a girl was running at full speed while a huge spotted leopard pursued her. Whenever it gets close enough to bite her, she screams, hits him on the head, then rushes forward at a faster rate. This scene startled Robin, who had just arrived. That huge tiger was at the 9th level. But what really made him open his eyes full was the girl, who was about 15 years old and also at the 9th level. A girl with a talent that almost reaches him would certainly be known, but it was the first time he saw her. Robin did not care about the details anymore. He just knew he had to save the girl for now. Even though he had no battle experience, he still has his brain. He chose an opportunity when the spotted leopard was about to attempt pitting again, then pounced towards the tiger with a punch from one of the primitive martial arts he had learned before. The girl looked behind her, and she stopped in her place after hearing a painful cry. When she saw Robin smashes the tiger's head with one hit, she knew the danger was over and walked towards him. "Hey you, who asked you for help? You interrupted my training." The girl put her small hand on her side and said in annoyance. Robin looked at her, carefully this time. The girl was really pretty, medium tall with cute features. Although her breasts were still small, she was a beautiful young lady. Robin, who had been in training isolation for most of his life, did not know how to deal with girls, especially the beautiful ones. Sorry, I saw you screaming, so I came to help. Shouldn't have I?" Robin said with a smile while scratching his head. "Yeah, weirdo. I'm here in survival training, and you interrupted it. Make it up for me. What do you want?" His smile turned into an emotionless face. There was no need for her to talk to him this way, especially since he saved her life, right? "Can you cook?" "Huh." Robin was very surprised. This was never expected, this question. "Can you or not?" This time, she said in annoyance while furrowing her eyebrows. "I guess I can." "Great. I accept your invitation then. I haven't eaten anything good for a month." "What envy?" "Oh, never mind. Just follow me." Robin gave up on trying to reason with her. It looks like you're not completely useless. This meat is good. It has hardly any salt on it, and was just thrown on the fire. What have you been eating lately?" Robin was surprised and said, "Just vegetables or raw meat. Those damn old men are trying to kill me," she said while nibbling at another big piece of the bear meat. "Old men want to kill you? Are you hunted?" said Robin, who started looking around. "Huh? No. I mean the old men of my family. They made me come here to train myself because I'm so used to the lavish life. I'll prove them wrong." "Is one of them here?" Robin returned to look at her. "Of course. And it's not like they're going to let this young lady get killed. Uncle Brown should be behind one of the trees or under one of those stupid rocks. Robin was silent for a while, not knowing how to deal with her. I don't remember seeing you on the important events in the Duchy of Alton before. Where are you from? Haha, you're speaking like you're attending those important events, old man. Have some shame. Anyway, I'm not from this duchy. I'm just spending some time in the Beast Zone for some survival drills. Then I'm going to Jura City to challenge someone there called Robin Burton. He is said to be the greatest talent of the century, blah blah blah. So I came to show him who is the boss. Robin was surprised several times during this simple discussion. He excused her for calling him old man. A person of the 10th level can live up to 150 years and therefore will keep his youth for a long time. Only someone stronger than him can easily determine his age. But he did not correct her and let her think that he is old. The second is that she's here for a survival drill, but an elder is nearby watching over her. What survival bullshit is this? She knows that she will not die even if she wanted to commit suicide. The third thing that surprised him was that she is here for him. Likely, the news of him entering the 10th level hasn't spread yet, or she wouldn't have dared to come challenging him. Did she come from afar to use him as a stepping stone? This girl. If I beat her up and tie her to a tree, would that Uncle Brown mind? Chapter 5. The night passed quickly after that short conversation. The girl was tired and fell asleep immediately, while Robin remained sitting in front of the cave in a meditative position, trying to discover the laws around him. Everything that happens can be linked to a heavenly law. For example, the scene of falling leaves captured him for some time thinking about what he sees. Can this be attributed to the path of the wind that carried the leaves, or the path of the water that dried the leaves and made them weak? And those little stones rolling from the top of the mountain, can they be attributed to the path of gravity, or to the paths of the wind and water that loosen the soil? Wherever he looks, he finds a possible law. But any random minor heavenly law from these paths will take him tens of years to complete, so he was not in a hurry to make his decision. Robin remained in this position for a few more hours until morning came. When he felt a slight wind on his neck, he opened his eyes and looked next to him to find a girl's face an inch away from him. Whoa! What are you doing, woman? Robin panicked and took a few steps back. Woman? I'm a young pretty lady, Humph. What are you doing in meditation, old man? You want to appear mysterious to capture this beautiful lady's heart. Even now, the girl still rejects the idea that the man in front of her is just a teenager of her age, because simply such talent should be in some palace surrounded by slaves and beautiful women, not lying alone in a cave. Did you rest and eat? Scram then. I want to get back to what I was doing. Oh, you really can't deal with beauties. It doesn't matter. My name is Mila Bradley, though I didn't really need it. You did came to save me and even gave me food. I don't like the feeling of being indebted to anyone. If you ever needed something, come and find me. I will help you with one thing without conditions. Mila, are you Duke Bradley's daughter? Robin said surprisingly, even that he never saw her. Of course he heard about the pride of the Bradley Duchy. Haha, now you know how awesome this young lady is? But it's too late. I'm going to Jura City. See you, old man. Before even the last word was finished, the girl jumped towards the south, followed by a faint shadow moving through the trees. That shadow stopped suddenly in the middle of his track to look at Robin and then at the young lady he was protecting, as if he was choosing between two options. But in the end, he sighed and followed her silently. Robin looked at them until they disappeared from his view, then smiled. I think she'll be disappointed when she can't find Robin Burton. I would love to see her reaction, but this will probably be the last time I see her. Then he returned to his place in front of his cave and restarted his meditation. And this was his life for the next period. He sits meditating for continuous days. Sometimes he opens his mouth as if he understood something, then closes it quickly and frowns. Sometimes he yells. Sometimes he just stands to kick any random thing beside him before returning to his position. Day after day, month after month, he started getting used to his new life cycle, meditating, hunting, eating, sleeping a little, then repeat. In Jura, the situation settled faster than he thought. Because he was already living in isolation, his absence hadn't really affected the lives of many. Rather, most of them did not know that he had left until an eccentric young girl came to announce that she was challenging him, but he didn't answer the call. Many called him a coward and a shame to the city, and driving Earl Brian Burton to personally appear and announce that Robin has left the city for an open training period and he does not know when he will return. Maybe he would never return. The news broke like a storm across the city and found its way to the entire Duchy of Alton. Not every day such a genius appears, but this one disappeared just as fast. But even this was only circulated among talented of the younger generation, and soon the name of Robin Burton subsided and disappeared. A mere 10th-level teenager doesn't affect the big picture of a grand duchy inhabited by millions of people. The patriarch tried to search for him, but he hadn't found a trace. Robin didn't tell anyone about his destination, so no one tried to search for him in the outer beast zone. Even if someone did go to search there, he wouldn't find him in his small cave within such a vast area. Eventually, Patriarch Brian sighed and tried to forget the beautiful dream he painted for the family one day. This boy was as stupid as he was a genius. As for his father, he pressured the family to increase his allowance in order to increase his contributions and bring more geniuses to the world, and he had what he wanted. Robin's mother was the only one who was really saddened by his absence, but she consoled herself that he's now in a better place doing whatever he wants. As for his only friend, or more accurately, the person who used to sit with him for an hour every few months, Billy Burton, stayed for a while looking at the road which his friend had left from. He stayed like this for a few weeks until the last time, when he closed his fists tightly, clenched his teeth, and turned around to leave. No one knew what he was thinking, but this young man looked as he had made a fateful decision. 10 years passed in a flash. Robin was still sitting in front of the same cave, but his surroundings had changed. It was covered with the skins of the beasts he had killed, while their heads decorating the walls. He himself grew a thick beard on his face. During this period, Robin hasn't mastered anything yet. His destination is still unclear and overcast. He hadn't discovered evidence of any new path during the first year of meditation. Eventually, he concluded that just sitting and meditating was a dead end. So he decided on checking random minor laws until he finds something worth pursuing. Currently, he has several theories and knows some truths about more than one undiscovered minor heavenly law. Coupled with his harsh living conditions over the past decade, had made him much more stronger and experienced. He wasn't just an energy container as he was. His current strength is far above the 10th level boundary. Chapter 6. Another 6 more years have passed. Now he has lived here more than his time with the Burton family. Now at the age of 30, except for that thick beard and the small scar above his eyebrow, he still looks as young as he was before. It's just that his fake smile ceased to exist as it changed to an indifferent, half-dead face. His expression changed only rarely. His body became thin, his clothes are dusty and blood-stained from top to bottom, but he did nothing to clean himself while sitting at a table in a restaurant. Yes, a restaurant. Although he was used to loneliness since his birth, he was still seeing people and interacting with others. But when he experienced true loneliness for more than a decade, it affected him greatly. 3 years ago, he could not bear his life cycle anymore and began to go out to wander a little in the neighboring villages after every few months of meditating. But he did not worry that anyone would recognize him. With his worn clothes and thick beard, he did not look different from any poor hunter. He started working on skinning the beasts he hunted to sell their hides to the nearest village for money, then buying salt to add taste to the grilled meat, which had become nauseating recently, and sitting in cafes or restaurants to listen to the human voices that he longed for. And today was one of those days. While he was sitting, as usual, an old man came and sat across next to him. "Here you are again, Ghost Hunter. You're late for us this time, haha. Was your harvest good?" This was the owner of the shop who bought the hides from Robin every few months. After a few visits, he got to know him and waited for him patiently. He loved this Ghost Hunter. Every time he appeared, he brought with him a large number of hides and guts of the beasts whose level is higher than the 8th. These beasts are rarely seen, and even rarer to find hunters strong enough to kill them. "I've left the hides in your store, and I've already taken my money from your son," said Robin, in a broken voice, as if he had never used his throat to speak before. "Haha, good. Hey, you don't intend to leave again so quickly, right? Do you intend to hunt your whole life, or what? At least rest here for a few days." "No, I've decided to do something, and I have to do it at all costs." Robin sighed as he looked at the coffee cup in his hand. And what's the problem if you finish it tomorrow or the day after that? You have been hunting for years, and I have never seen you rest properly. You should take the pressure off your body, or the tension will affect you. Then you will stop supplying me with the goods. Listen, you are one of my most important suppliers, and I fear about your mental health. What about you be my guest today? Let me take care of you for just one day, and then do whatever you want, said the old man. Robin was about to reject, but soon he remembered that after drinking his coffee, he will have to go back to his cave and sit on his butt meditating for a few months, and only get up when hunting those stupid beasts. He didn't want that. He raised his head and said in a low voice, "Well, if it's only a day." "Ha ha ha, that's what I like to hear. Let's go?" "Restaurant owner, this guy's food and drinks are on me." The old man then grabbed Robin's hand and pulled him behind him. After walking for a while, they neared a huge decorated building. At the door stood a few girls in lewd clothes, greeting everyone entering with a smile. When he saw this, Robin opened his eyes wide as HT. This old man is planning to bring me a brothel. He thought for a moment about going back, but in the end, he decided otherwise. It's just a day. What could possibly happen? He gave himself up completely to the old man to choose what he would do for the night, since it was the first time he entered a brothel in his life. And it was the best night of Robin's life. Dancing, singing, drinking, and laughing made him forget the worry and responsibilities he was carrying on his back. At the end of the evening, the old man suggested to him one of the girls to spend the night with. "This girl is the most expensive here and hasn't been chosen by many before. I will pay. You just finish the job, haha." The old man laughed out loud, pointing at a girl. "Well, I think knowing this fee, Ling wouldn't hurt. I'm 30 after all. My peers did it at the age of 12. Robin thought for a while, then agreed, and went with the girl to a room on the side of the building. 5 more years passed. Robin spent more than half of them in the neighboring village. After that one night, Robin returned to the village after only 2 months of meditation. The next time he came back was a month later. Then, every 2 weeks. His main purchases changed from salt and the necessities of life to wine, and some time with the women of the brothel. Soon he became one of their most important customers, and in order not to get the women there to like him more, he trimmed his beard, bought new clothes, and even various perfumes. His situation developed until he became almost resident in the village and went out to hunt monsters for a while, only to collect enough money to keep up with his new lifestyle. On a typical day in the tavern with his host Rita, while he was laughing and drinking, she asked while lying on his bare chest, "My Lord Rob, you're so handsome and so dignified. Are you really just a hunter? Why don't you tell this little slave who my master really is?" "Haha, you got a good eye. I am the son of the BU. I am. Robin's features began to change with each word he said until he turned into an ugly shape. He pushed Rita away from him and jumped out of the window, rushing towards his cave. After he reached the entrance to the cave, he looked inside for a while, then looked at the sky, shouted loudly, then knelt with his hands above his head. "What the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing? If I wanted all this bullshit, I'd have stayed as a genius in the Burton family. I'd have got the most beautiful women and the expensive wine in the world. So what brings you here, Robin? To become a legend? To change the world? I don't even have some basic control over my own actions." Robin shouted as he hit the ground below him until his fists bled. "The last 5 years I have only been able to reveal a few truths about one minor heavenly law. One damn law. 21 years have passed since my decision, and I still don't even know which path to take. But I left my ambition to play with Rita's breasts. What did all that bullshit do for me? Damn me. Damn me." As his voice rose, the beasts in the area were trembling in fear. They felt his anger. The ghost of death that hunted them every now and then had already become their nightmare, and him being angry was never a good sign. "Wait a moment. Reveal a few truths." "Truths." Robin calmed down quickly as he rose from a kneeling position and immediately sat in a meditating position. His bloody hand didn't disturb him as he got drowned in his thoughts. Chapter 7. During the 21 years, he had been busy revealing some simple truths of every minor heavenly law he discovers. But he has never tried to focus on a single minor law, or he would have already controlled one of them. So far, he has revealed a few truths and key details of about 18 minor laws. He wanted to try using one of those minor laws as a bridge towards the major law of the same path, but he failed repeatedly. Every time he feels that it's a dead end, he would try researching a new minor heavenly law. Maybe he would become lucky once and find what he wants. But his outbreak just now has made him look towards a direction he didn't think was possible before. The truths. They are everywhere. The way to reach them and their components differ, but in the end, everything has its own truth. Can't this be considered a heavenly path? When he directed his thoughts in this direction, he became afraid. Every heavenly path contains an infinite number of minor laws, but these laws must be something tangible or at least visible or sensible to be able to research it and look at its properties in the hope of mastering it and make a technique for others to use it. Can even something like the truth be a heavenly path? If it was indeed a path and had a major or even a minor law that he can use, wouldn't that be terrifying? Wouldn't that mean I could use this law to find more about the truth of various other things? Maybe the truth of the world itself? When he thought of this, Robin opened his eyes and shouted, "This is it." Yes, that was his goal from the beginning, to find a unique path that would immortalize his name in history and pave the way for the later generation, that would make his life worth living. He returned to his meditative position quickly after calming himself down and began trying to set plans to reveal something about the path of truth and how to absorb and cultivate it. But after 2 days, he did not reach anything. It was the same problem that faced the sages before him when someone tried to study the path of space or the path of primal chaos. They had nothing tangible to study, not like the path of water, fire, etc. Space, primordial chaos, truth, and the like only exist in theories. Robin calmed himself again and thought, how did I think about the truth path in the first place? This will be the tip of the thread. How did he arrive at the existence of the law? By discovering and studying truths of 18 minor laws. Should he continue studying minor laws endlessly until he finds something? There is no going back now. I will seek the truth for the rest of my life. Let fate take its course. He resolved and opened his eyes, trying to spot another minor law around him. The days passed quickly. Another 60 years passed in the blink of an eye. Robin is now 90 years old. Time left its mark on him. Half of his hair became white and wrinkles appeared on his face. He shaved his beard, leaving nothing but a thick mustache. But his features also calmed down greatly, and his eyes became as deep as the universe itself. Although he was just sitting in front of his desk writing a few notes, his every move seemed so perfect as an illusion. During that period, Reuben devoted himself to studying minor laws most of his time, bringing the number to 76 previously undiscovered minor laws. Of course, it's all just a discovery of the law itself, then looking more deeply into it to discover some truths about its existence, its functions, and the key to research it more easily in the future. He then write his findings in scrolls before throwing them inside the cave, which has now become more like a small lab full of scrolls everywhere and smells like ink, after it was full of beast hides and the smell of wine and blood. His goal was the path of truth, so he didn't try to use this information to fully comprehend these minor laws. He just wanted to get a general idea of as many laws as possible in order to get closer to his goal. But this rule of his was broken 3 times. Yes, he has mastered previously undiscovered 3 minor laws. 1 minor law of vertical fluid. By observing the way the plant feed from the soil throughout these years, he found that its growth is closely related to the amount of water and food that passes through it and how it is distributed. So he decided to master the law so that it may benefit him in the future if he decides to plant something. And this indeed happened. As he was getting older, he decided to use this minor law to plant a little garden at the bottom of the mountain to provide him the vegetables and fruits he loves and give him some change in appearance. It's unknown how many would commit suicide if they knew that such a monstrous garden exists. And it has nothing but frauds. 2 minor law of atmospheric steam. It's tasked to extract water from the air around him, and therefore there is no longer a need to go to the river every now and then to fetch water for drinking, bathing, cooking, etc., which greatly increased the time spent in meditation. With just a wave of his hand now, he could compress all the steam around him, creating a tiny cloud that would rain where he wants. 3 minor law of blood rush. With this law, he can increase the speed of blood flowing to his head, and thus he can stay awake for much longer periods than those of his level. Usually, the pillars for level 11 can be created with 1 minor law, but Robin didn't use any of them and stayed at level 10. The laws seem all simple, but who would have discovered them? The sages are interested in laws that increase their power and the power of their families and forces in the greatest possible way. Which sage would seclude himself for tens of years, wasting his precious time to meditate and master such trivial laws? Another problem is that when the pillars are made from a law, the cultivator affinity rises towards the path of his original law. A sage which made his pillars with a minor law of the fire path can't research other paths as freely. He would need much more time and effort. As for those who really need laws of this caliber, like the farmers, miners, and those how to work in the desert, can't even dream of researching any of them. And as for geniuses like Robin, the natural choice for them would be to study a technique for a pre-recorded minor law to rapidly increase their power. Who else would have the audacity to waste their life like that? During the 60 years, Robin did not completely confine himself to the cave like his first decade, but still had to go every few months to the village to sell beast hides and buy salt, scrolls, ink, and other necessities. And also to reward himself with one night in the brothel every new year. Ghost Hunter Rob was very famous in the village, and the residents considered him one of them and came to start conversations with him on each visit. Till one of the visits when he was still 68 years old, someone mentioned that he recently attended a funeral for the Burton family that was held in the city of Jura, describing how majestic the funerals of the rich families, and so on. When Robin heard his words, he inquired further and found that the deceased was his mother. He went silent for a long time, then sighed, excused himself politely, then left towards Jura. It didn't take too long for him to get back to Jura City. He entered the city covering his face. The first thing he did was to go around inquiring about her condition before death. He quickly knew that she had given birth to another two siblings, a boy and a girl, and that she had died of old age. Nothing suspicious. He sighed in relief. His mother hadn't had a happy life, but at least she died comfortably on her bed with her two new children around her. He then went to visit her grave. His mother wasn't anything special, and so she was buried in a guard-less area. He just sat there, looking at her tombstone for God knows how long. At the end, he knelt on his two knees. "I'm sorry, Mother." From start to finish, he hadn't shed a single tear. Then he got up, turned around, and left. He still had a lot to do back in his little cave. Chapter 8. The years passed in the blink of an eye. Robin is now 120 years old, his hair all turned white and wrinkles covering his face, but his build is still strong and his eyes are still focused. He was recently able to gain some achievements in the path of truth, which enabled him to continue his work more smoothly. During this period, the number of secondary laws he discovered has reached 131, and he also mastered the first level of several other minor heavenly laws. His success rate in discovering laws and revealing their truths has risen dramatically recently, making Robin sure he is on the right path. Robin yawned after he finished writing a few notes in a scroll before throwing it aside. Then he stretched his aged body and came out of the cave, took a deep breath, before going down for a walk, as usual, every few days. After a few steps, the voices of beasts and birds began echoing across the valley. All of them knew that the shadow of death began his move. This was an alarm system that the local beasts made together. Those beasts of different species did not expect to cooperate in their lifetime, but Robin's presence forced them to coordinate to escape from his claws. "Shut up. I want blood peacock meat today. Any other creature should go before I change my mind. Hey you, where are the blood peacocks?" Robin shouted at the top of his voice, then pointed to a royal gorilla near him which freaked out and pointed towards a certain direction. All the beasts suddenly calmed down when they knew they had survived another day, except for a frantic cry came from a blood peacock nearby, followed by words in an incomprehensible language. Seems like it was cursing at the royal gorilla, before he flew away quickly, leaving the royal gorilla behind, who looked away and began to whistle. Robin laughed at the scene, then started running after the blood peacock. Although he is considered old now and still only at the 10th level, any young man under the 13th level cannot dream of keeping up with him thanks to the number of laws he snoops on and ones he mastered. He chased after the level 10 blood peacock until he approached the border of the outer beast zone when he heard the sound of a baby crying about 100 meters away. "We are near the border, but this is still a forbidden area. What is a baby doing here?" This wasn't the first time he encountered humans, Along the years, he saved many hunters and gave directions to many young adventurers. But this was the first time he heard a voice of a baby. Robin stopped on one of the trees looking in the direction of the baby, which gave the peacock a chance to get a safe distance. It screamed excitedly, then turned and raised to Robin the middle feather in his wing. "Damn chicken, I'll make your feathers a pillow soon enough." That sentence from Robin brought it back to his senses and sped forward at full speed. As for Robin, he turned his eyes again towards the place where the child's cry came from. He came close without a sound and found a woman holding a basket with a baby, putting it gently under a huge tree. "I'm sorry, son. I know this is a crime against you, but your father divorced me and can't bring you up alone. My best chance is to give up on you and find myself another husband. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." The woman cried for a couple of minutes, then left the basket behind and ran toward the border. A killing intent flashed through Robin's eyes, but he suppressed it quickly. His experience told him how difficult life is for a mortal. A woman like this, even if she earned enough money somehow to raise her baby, she wouldn't have been able to protect him till he grew up. Most likely he would have been caught early on and turned into a slave. So the decision to feed him to beasts now is considered the smartest one. While he was looking at the child, calmly thinking what he would do, a huge wild boar with red eyes came, approaching the baby. Robin was used to seeing blood and knew how cruel the world is, but he just couldn't watch this anymore. "Get out of here, you fat FCK. That bag of meat is mine." The boar panicked when he heard the famous Death Shadow's voice and ran to the opposite side without looking behind him. After another moment, Robin jumped off the tree and walked over to the baby, picked him up, finding that it was a boy. "I think I needed someone to clean the cave for me. That would increase the time of my research." Even he knew that these harsh words were not what he really felt. "It seems that the heaven took pity on my loneliness at last and sent me this baby to comfort me in the last days." Another 10 years had passed. Robin is now 130 years old and is approaching the end of his life. His beard has become longer and whiter and his back is started to bend a little, but the speed of discovering and analyzing laws has increased exponentially. During these 10 years, he discovered more than 50 laws and mastered 3 new ones. This is the result of his success in the path of truth, which opened a few new doors for him. The path itself still has a transparent barrier that he cannot penetrate, but this no longer makes a difference to him. He has surrendered to his inevitable death. What he is doing now will be his legacy, distributed to humans after his death to carry and immortalize his name. That's enough for him. And the task of distributing these priceless scrolls fell on the shoulders of little Caesar. The 10-year-old, who had already reached the 6th level of Energy Foundation, was standing by Robin's desk inside the cave. Robin looked at him. "What are you doing here, brat? Didn't I tell you to catch a red-eyed snake?" "He's lying outside, Dad." "Then go and skin it well. I don't want any cuts on the hide, or we lose a lot when we sell it." "That's done too." Little Caesar grinned and raised his neck as if he had saved the world. Robin looked at the boy before him, then sighed and rubbed his head. This kid did not know the meaning of childhood. Since his early days, he was raised inside a cave surrounded by beasts. Robin taught him martial arts since he was 2 years old. With time, he poured in him all the knowledge he gathered during more than a century. For example, a law that increases his intelligence and another that speeds up his absorption of energy around him, even making him technique for one of the strongest minor heavenly laws from the fire path, which made him a small monster. Even he who was born a genius did not have his strength when he was this age. What helped in the upbringing of Caesar in such an environment was the power of his father. Robin had ordered the beasts in the jungle not to attack Caesar unless they were on the same level, so he could move around freely without worrying about the stronger beasts. Listen to the little Caesar telling him how he intelligently spotted his giant prey, then attacking it forcefully and knocked it to the ground, constantly waving his little hands while Robin sometimes pretends to be surprised and laughs out loud at other times. He really liked this kid. Unfortunately, his 130-year-old age made him destined to leave him soon. Chapter 9. Another 10 years passed in a blink of an eye. Robin now could only walk with the help of a stick. His eyes were almost closed with wrinkles. His white beard had reached his knees. He looked like he was about to die at any moment. As he was taking his daily nap at noon, when a voice came from afar, "Dad, I'm back." The sound of the shouting scared old Robin out of his sleep. He looked outside the cave and cursed. You motherfucker, why don't you just die? Hey, I know you don't really mean it, hee. I will not die before you, Caesar said with a smile as he entered the cave and approached to sit next to Robin. Caesar is now almost 20 years old and is at level 13. For years ago, he used one of the most powerful minor laws of the fire path that Robin discovered to build the pillars of the domain above the 10th level. And because the law was transferred to him directly from the source, he took pure information and instructions, gaining more power compared to those of the same level. But he did not find anyone to test his new power on, so he decided to head towards the inner best zone, where there are beasts that reaches level 20. With his new strength, in addition to the bloody battles that he fights daily there, Caesar has gained a heavy, murderous aura. He has become a true fighter to be reckoned with. The complete opposite of his father, who has remained all his life in the outer region, refusing to enter so that the constant disturbance does not affect his research. Caesar is now used to his own lifestyle. He would head to the inner beast zone, stays there for about a month before he returns with a few hides and valuable plants, then comes to see if his father needs something, before going to sell what he has and buy new scrolls and the rest of his necessities. Cough, cough. Off my face, you bastard, and let me finish my nap. I have a lot more research to do when I wake up, Robin said while pulling the blanket to cover himself again. Research again? Dad, you are an unparalleled genius. You can step to level 11 at any time and extend your life. Why do you insist on being stubborn? Living is more important than anything. Caesar was upset when he heard what was said. This is not the first time this kind of conversation has taken place. Every year that passes increases his father's disability and brings him one step closer to his grave. Robin was silent for a few minutes until Caesar thought he had fallen asleep. Then he heard, living. Maybe the most important thing to you. I have nothing to live for. I have no passion but the path of truth that I spent my life on. If I don't master it, then I will just die. Live for me. You are my only family. Isn't that enough of a reason for you? Caesar jumped up and cried, weeping. Scram, you're not even my real son. Robin grabbed a book and threw it at Caesar. Damn you. I know you didn't give birth to me, but you're still my dad. You won't take this from me, Caesar said while letting the book hit his forehead. You have already grown up. I gave you all my experience, and I will leave you this treasure of scrolls. If you sell them properly, you will have enough money and lands to declare your own kingdom. Isn't that enough? Find a good girl and marry her. Establish your own family. Forget about this old man, Robin said with a weak voice. All this won't make up for you, said Caesar as he went to put the book back in its place next to Robin, then came out of the cave. After about 10 minutes of silence inside the cave, TSK, boys these days are feminine. But it was clear that the owner of the voice was crying. Robin did not know if he was crying over his life that he spent on things that would benefit others, or over his only son, who was not his own, but is still pained when thinking that he's about to leave him. After another 4 years, Robin is now 144 years old and can no longer stand without Caesar's assistance. Caesar decided to stop his travels to the inner beast zone to spend with his father the remaining of his life. It was a simple and warm life. Caesar takes care of the necessities while Robin concentrates on meditating on his little bed and writing notes. Every now and then he passes a few new tips to Caesar about the laws which increase his fighting and surviving abilities. Although Caesar is now much stronger than his father, he still listens carefully and applies every word. And indeed, every piece of advice hit its goal and raised his ability to a completely different level. But this was increasing Caesar's resentment at his father's decision. After he began to go out to explore, he knew more about the laws and paths and how difficult it was to discover them. He knew what his father was doing in his small cave and knew what this meant for the whole world. Robin discovered hundreds of minor laws and recorded truths them and the keys to complete its cultivation techniques. Although he did not fully master them, his mere recordings would reduce the time it would take for those after him to master the laws. Robin's records can be mastered and complete the method of cultivation in less than 4 years if any average sage worked on them. Caesar looked deeply at his father, who was explaining a new law to him, with eyes shining with tears. Such a genius should stay alive. His death is a crime against the whole world. 2 years later, Robin is sitting on his bed, as usual, contemplating the creation around him when he felt his heartbeat had stopped. Oh, looks like my time has come. So that's what death feels like, Robin thought as the interruption of blood flow began to affect the speed of his thinking. I have revealed the truths of hundreds of laws throughout my life. I have mastered dozens of them and taken glimpses of many known major laws. If I had studied one of those, I would have mastered it by now. But all of this was not enough to completely reveal the path of truth. What a damn path I have chosen. That feeling, oh, maybe I should call Caesar, to tell him that death is also a heavenly path. Boom. Suddenly, everything around Robin seemed to stop, and a strong light flashed at the end of his bed. Chapter 10. The light began to gather rapidly in a human form, and the clearer the human shape gets, the more the time slowed down around Reuben, until even the insects stopped beating their wings in midair. What exactly are you? Are you really human? Said the humanoid confusingly. Is this a joke? You're the one who popped up out of nowhere in the form of a damn talking light, and you're the one asking if I'm a human? Hey, if you're here to take my soul, just take it and get it over with. Don't mess with me. Robin shouted angrily. No, I'm not here to take your life. I'm a human. I was amazed when the path of truth whispered to me just now that another one had mastered its first level, so I came to see this new brother myself. But my astonishment increased when I saw this planet. Your very existence should be impossible, the humanoid said while bewilderment appeared on his simple features. My existence? Hey, explain your words quickly. I'm a dead man. I don't have enough time for this. You will only die if I allow it, rest assured. As for the meaning of my words, you are currently living in what we call a nascent planet, the laws of which aren't fully discovered, and its inhabitants are weak, while the planet is still focusing on gathering energy from the primordial chaos around it to strengthen and prepare itself. In its current state, the most the planet can do is to give a few chosen of its creatures certain talents such as intelligence, stronger soul, stronger body, etc. This is to help more inhabitants to grow to the levels 30-40, what you call sages, to help in revealing more laws and strengthen the rest of creation. But you shouldn't have mastered the path of truth. A planet with a cultivation history that didn't exceed 60,000 years is definitely not ready for this yet. It was necessary to wait for an additional couple 100,000 years at least before the inhabitants began to explore the path of truth. Tell me, how did you do it? The humanoid light spoke with mixed emotions between puzzlement and curiosity. Robin went silent for a while as he tried to absorb what he just heard. A nascent planet? Not ready. Hundreds of thousands of years. Is this some kind of hallucinations before death? But he put this idea aside and started telling the humanoid light the story of his life from his birth until this moment. Even if he was hallucinating and talking to himself, there is no harm in recalling the past for one last time. I don't know if the planet is lucky or unfortunate with your presence. Instead of acting like an obedient creature and becoming a sage, you went to accelerate the plant's evolution process by at least tens of thousands of years. Sighed the humanoid light and shook his head. Sorry for not playing by the rules, I guess, but does it matter? All that's left of me are the scrolls I wrote about some minor laws. The law of truth will die with me. My heart has already stopped. Robin smiled, appearing calm, but deep down he was extremely unwilling. The goal that he was after was finally in his reach, but he was dying. I told you you won't die unless I allow it. Robin, do you want another chance? The humanoid said slowly. A chance? What chance? Even if you offered to stop time until I lay my pillars with the path of truth, I wouldn't agree. I don't want to live a few more years like this, depending on my son to help me peeing. But if you stop the time until I pass the path of truth to my son Caesar, I will be grateful to you, he said. Robin in a calm voice. Your son? You mean the boy who drags a giant blood peacock outside? I'll bring him for you. With a thought, Caesar appeared next to his father's bed in a weird position like he was pulling something heavy. Then the time stop was canceled on him, and he stuck to the wall head first. Damn, what the? The word stopped in Caesar's throat as he saw the humanoid light, then his father next to him. The humanoid looked at Robin. I brought him not to pass the law, but to witness our conversation so you don't have to explain it to him later. Listen, Robin, I refuse to allow your death. Someone like you shouldn't die like this. Although this planet is not under my control, I will break the rules for you this time. I hope you remember me later. Then he raised his hand and directed it towards Robin. Caesar watched from the side, not knowing what was happening, but he did not try to intervene. A ball of light shrouded Robin and lifted him up. Changes immediately began to occur in his body. His weak, worn body began to harden, and the wrinkles on his face that painted the fatigue of a century and a half began to fade. Caesar opened his eyes wide as he watched this sudden change. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Caesar's heart almost exploding from the intensity of enthusiasm. Seeing his dying father regaining his luster and youth, he felt like dreaming. It was a simple operation that took about 5 minutes, but Caesar felt like it took a lifetime. When the light finally disappeared around Robin, he fell hard on his bed, then shouted, "Ugh, that was uncalled for. What did you do to me?" Robin shouted, pointing his finger at the humanoid, when he noticed with the corner of his eye that this was not his hand. He used his other hand to check the one with which he was pointing, but noticed that his other hand has also changed. "These are the hands of a youth." He then looked at Caesar and found him opening his mouth and eyes while looking at him in astonishment. "Shut your mouth and go and get me a damn mirror," Robin shouted at him, before noticing that his voice was also that of a youth. Those words brought back Caesar to reality. He quickly brought the mirror and gave it to his father. Caesar expected his father to shout and attack the humanoid with questions as soon as he sees himself, but he was met with silence. A silence that lasted for a few minutes before a single tear fell from Robin's eye. "This is me. This is me when I was young," he said in a choked voice as he was trying to restrain himself. "I used advanced levels of the time major law and life major law to bring your body back to that of a 12-year-old child. This removed all cultivation from your body, but you still have your original soul power, intelligence, and your memory. All the laws that you mastered can still be used when you gather some energy in your body. I hope you make good use of your second chance. Let's meet again if fate wills it." The humanoid light turned back the time law affecting the planet to normal before his body started to disperse. He was about to leave. Wait, why are you in such a hurry? Can you do what you did to me to Caesar?" Robin waved his hand at the humanoid. The boy is still in his 20s and his talent is passable. Why would you want to bring him back to being a child?" The man of light was surprised by the request. "He's my son. Now that I've reached the first level in the law of truth, I bet it will be easier to master the rest of the laws. I want to get him a major law to make his pillars with." "How come someone so smart be so shameless? You're supposed to be scared and kneel down in front of me after you saw what I could do, but you're trying to take advantage of me even more." The man of light did not know whether to cry or laugh. "Kneel? Forget it. I didn't even kneel to fate. Just do it if you can. I'll owe you another one," Robin said proudly. The humanoid just wanted to shout, "What can you even do to repay the first favor?" But eventually he gave up and pointed at Caesar, and soon a ball of light swallowed him. During the operation, the humanoid looked at Robin and said, "Let me advise you so you don't waste your time. This is not a resurrection. You can say it's just letting the body go back to a certain point in time. It's not a perfect technique. One of its defects is that your son will have to build his pillars from the same path with which he built his pillars previously. The major law of that path is his maximum now." "Oh, there is such a thing. I was going to give him what I know about the truth. But it's okay. The major law of fire isn't that bad either," said Robin, frustrated a little. If the founding sage of the Flame Empire had heard this, he would have probably hanged himself with his own underwear. Chapter 11. There is something I wanted to ask. What exactly did I master? The major law of truth? Or just a minor one? Robin asked. There were no records on this path, so he didn't even know what he pursued or did he achieved. Truth is truth, my little friend. There are very few master paths that have just one law, and the truth is one of them. How did you know about my situation? How the truth law told you? Who are you? What can I call you? Robin kept asking. He knew if the humanoid left it would be very difficult to meet him again. You don't need to know all those details now. Just know that I'm like you. Someone who built his pillars by the law of truth. People like us are very rare, even in the scoop of the entire universe. I could not stand seeing one die at such a young age, particularly someone as special as you. You asked about my name. I forgot it. Don't be surprised. When you live as long as I did, you will lose focus on such trivial matters. But currently, they call me the all-seeing God. Oh, by the way, I am the ruler of a few middle-aged planets, said the man of light, as if it were normal. Ruler, middle-aged planets? What do you mean by that? That also you don't need to know. Hey, you can call me a all-seeing big brother, ha ha ha. I will leave with you a sliver of my soul. You can use it to ask me anything if you encounter an obstacle, but beware. I may not answer you. I have interfered with the fate of this planet enough. One last thing. When you go back to the first level of the energy foundation and start to see the patterns, be nice and don't consume everything. Leave something for the latter generation. Don't rape the planet. The man of light laughed loudly as his body dissipated. Then a small point of light separated from him and entered Robin's head. The light man's words sent Robin into dizziness patterns. What is this? But he quickly regained his calm. Thinking would not do him any good before regaining the first level of his energy foundation. Then he turned his eyes to Caesar, who had also completed his transformation, and turned back to a 12-year-old boy. Ha, you look nicer now. Caesar looked at his father in astonishment and said, Who are you talking about? I didn't know that you were so handsome and cute. All my life I've known you like an old fart. I want to pinch your cheeks. Caesar approached, lifting his hands all the way near to Robin's cheeks. In fact, there was one thing the all-seeing God neglected to mention. This body rebuilding operation was not that simple, the main purpose of which was to actually save Robin. But his current body has still tested the effect of several major laws. It turned near perfect. Any weaknesses in him have disappeared, and his features have become more defined as if they were drawn with a pen. In general, he still retains the structure of his original face and body, but whoever knows him previously and looks closely will find that he has become more handsome. Of course, the same applies to Caesar. Off my face, you unfilial child. Even if I look younger, don't forget that I'm still your adoptive father. Hey, I think we should plan what we're going to do next, said Robin as he went to his bed, placing one leg on top of the other and supported his chin with one of his hands. But suddenly he stood up and jumped. Yaho! Then, ahem, and sat down again in the same position. Caesar sat on the floor next to the bed and looked up, waiting for what his father would say. Obviously, we can't stay here. If the beasts knew we had become mortals, they'd fight over who bites our bones first. We've caused them some serious damage over the last century, so I don't blame them, Robin said as he moved his fingers resting on his chin. But where will we go, Dad? Since I opened my eyes to the world, we lived in this cave. If we went to the border villages, they would not know us. We would be treated as two orphan children. We might even be subjected to enslavement. Oh, in fact, I am a descendant of a large family in the Duchy of Alton called the Burton family. There are tens of thousands bearing the family name and many times the number of slaves and soldiers. They will not mind the two of us if we go back. Some of the old bastards there must still remember my childhood appearance. But I guess that wouldn't work. The reason I left them earlier is that I don't like the feeling of being used, and surely they wouldn't keep quiet when they see my current body or while watching our training speed. Didn't you say that these scrolls are precious? Why don't we sell one, buy a house from the prophet, and live with what's left? After a few years we'll be strong enough to roam freely, stated Caesar. Oh, you reminded me. Robin suddenly got up and grabbed the candle on his desk, then threw it over the pile of scrolls. What the hell are you doing? Are you insane? This is the hard work that you spent all your life on. Caesar yelled loudly, almost going mad at the sight in front of him. Although he himself did not care much about these scrolls, he knew that they were everything for Robin. He gave his life to write them. How did he take the decision to burn them so easily? The hard work that I spent my life on is in my head. I was constantly recording this to leave behind a legacy that benefits the world and immortalizes my name. Wasn't this why I trained you so hard? To get strong enough to spread my work on my behalf. But I don't need this anymore. It's not like I've become stingy. But the right time hasn't come yet. If one of these scrolls comes out to light now, we will be pursued immediately by enemies that we cannot withstand. Either they hunt and torture us to get the rest of the scrolls, or make me work as a slave for them for the rest of my life. I really want to publish my findings, but like this. Of course, there might be someone smart and try to protect a talent like me, but I wouldn't leave such an important matter to fate. Or why do you think I hadn't sold or published one of them earlier, you genius? Robin said sarcastically. So, what to do? Now we really have no source of money or a place to shelter. We are both just weak kids. Damn, you just had to ask him to rebuild my body, didn't you? I could have provided protection and a stable income for both of us. Why did you put us in this miserable situation? Since when you and I need someone to take care of us? Caesar yelled angrily. Of course I thought about it, but I had to take this bet and give you this chance to get stronger. Have you heard the humanoid? Speaking about planets and big stuff. With the law of truth, I'm destined to walk a long and thorny road. You are my son, even if it is by name only. We have spent almost 3 decades together. I won't use you to protect me at first, then cast you aside when I advance further. We both have to move forward together. You want to protect me? Fine. I'll focus on my research, and you focus on your cultivation and protect me for the rest of your life. I will not get you off easy, you wretched bastard, Robin said with a laugh while patting Caesar's head. Caesar was silent and looked toward the ground. His eyes filled with tears, then smiled and quickly wiped them and raised his head to look at Robin, who turned his back to him and headed towards the entrance of the cave. So he got up and went behind him, thinking, you saved me from the mouths of animals. You fed me, taught me, and trained me. There hasn't been one day when I felt like an orphan. You say protect you for the rest of your life? I swear that even if the death god himself came for you, I will shield you. There was a long silence as Robin sat in front of the cave with Caesar behind him. Then he rose up and shouted, I remember. There's a rich girl who owed me over a century ago. It's time to give her a chance to pay off her debt. Huh? Over a century? Do you think she'll remember you? At least we have a place to start. Where is she? The Duchy of Bradley. Start packing. Get the money we have left and a few fruits from the garden. That peacock looks good too. Cut some meat from it and bring it with us to eat on our way. We have a long trip. Robin laughed loudly. Caesar was shocked by what he heard. He wanted to go to another duchy. Although the Duchy of Bradley is on the border with the Duchy of Alton, the distance is still far. Secondly, he doesn't just want to go to the borders of the Duchy of Bradley, but look for a girl inside. This will take a few weeks. But he trusted his father's intelligence and went to start packing. Just like that, the journey that will change the world has begun, with 2 mortal kids and 1 kin peacock. Chapter 12. The Beast Zone was the well-known border between the Duchesses of Bradley and Alton, but there was a small safe passage on the border called the Fiery Gates, used by traders and weak travelers. This was the goal of Robin and Caesar. Although the name sounds dangerous, it wouldn't be worse than dealing with the beasts. They got out of the Beast Zone and went around it for a few hundred miles to take the safe road. But unfortunately, it was safe from beasts, not humans. 2 mortal children with a big bag are considered a moving piece of meat in the eyes of many. For that, Robin and Caesar had to use their experience to the utmost degree. They would march quickly at noon in the middle of the roads to be under the protection of the public, then disappear completely for the rest of the day. But this strategy, in addition to the already long road, had made the estimated time of arrival takes much longer. Almost a month had passed, and they had barely reached the Fiery Gates. Surprisingly, the border was just a small town written on its entrance, the Fiery, which made Robin burst out laughing. But after thinking, this can be understood. The 2 duchesses belong to the kingdom of the Black Sun, and there should be no strong borders between them. Robin chose one of the street merchants and stopped him. Uncle, how do we reach the capital of the duchy? The one where the Duke and his family live. You want to go to Bradley Pearl City? Move northeast for 200 miles, but don't get your hopes up. I don't think you'll be let in. The man snorted, looking down at the 2 children. Oh, looks like we have another long walk, Dad. Let's rest here at least a few hours. Caesar murmured. Okay, heck, kids these days don't have enough determination. Robin said as he walked towards a tall tree, started climbing it, and with Caesar right behind. The street merchant went silent as he heard this weird conversation, 0_0. Another 2 weeks passed before the 2 children reached the gate of the city of Bradley's Pearl. It was a huge city with high walls worthy of being the heart of the duchy. At least it was much better than the city of Jura in which he was born. Stop where you are, shouted one of the guards while pointing the spear at them. Where do you think yourselves are going? If you're not a resident or you don't have an invitation, then get lost at once. Lady Mila Bradley was the one who invited me. Robin declared loudly to attract the attention of the rest of the guards, and he had what he wanted, and a little more. All the guards and all the commoners inside and outside the gate looked at him at the same time. Do you know the penalty for lying about something that concerns Lady Mila? The soldier started looking at Robin as if he was a dead person. Just tell her that the person who saved her life in the outer beast zone over 100 years ago was the one who sent me, and I hope you will understand how serious the situation is. If you try to bully me or don't send the message, you will pay with your blood. Robin said it firmly, but actually, he looked cute. However, his words were enough to frighten all the guards, the one who saved her life. If this boy was right, and they behaved badly with him, their heads and the heads of their families too would fly. Go to the ducal palace and tell Lady Mila what is happening here, the chief of the guard said to his nearest soldier. Then he looked at Robin from top to bottom. I hope you're right. I advise you to wish that too. As his eyes flashed with killing but disappeared quickly, Robin leaned on Caesar. Hey, when I give you the signal, throw the bag at the nearest guard and run to the right. I'll run to the left. Let us meet at the last tree we slept on yesterday. Are you kidding me? Was this all a show? Those guards are going to eat us alive. Caesar tried to keep his voice as low as possible. She looked like a woman of her word, but maybe she became a bitch over time. How should I know what would be her reaction? Robin shrugged and took a step away from Caesar. He was getting ready to run away. After 10 minutes of a suffocating atmosphere, the guard came back alone. This made the situation become even more tense. But soon a beautiful lady with a sexy body fell from the sky. When Robin saw her face, he knew who she was right away. It's her. Then he looked at her big breasts, which made him rethink her identity for a moment. But it was confirmed when he saw all the guards bowing before her. The woman remained in place for a few moments as well after her eyes fell on Robin. Send him to my house. She pointed at Robin coldly, then turned and flew away as splendidly as she came. You idiots! You almost killed yourselves. Ha ha ha, Dad is a special guest of the Duke's daughter herself. Come on, bow before him. Ha 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 ha. Caesar exploded uncontrollably when he knew the life and death situation was over. Hearing Dad made all the guards look at him in the same way as the merchant 0_0. In the end, they came to a conclusion that it might be a weird nickname or something. Meanwhile, Robin and Caesar, accompanied by 2 of the guards, set out towards Mila's house. On the way, Robin grabbed him and said, Hey, stop calling me Dad. You look taller and stronger than me now. You bulky bastard, call me Big Brother. Caesar found it difficult to respond to him, but he nodded. It had been more than 26 years when he first called him Dad. Any other title seemed strange to him. The 2 soldiers delivered both of them to the huge house of Lady Mila, which was located next to the ducal palace itself, and told the servants of the house what had happened. Them departed. The servant escorted Robin and Caesar to the main hall of the house and asked them to wait there until the lady comes back, and told them that it might take several hours or maybe days until she returns. Robin accepted and went to sit on one of the chairs ready to fill his long wait with cultivation. When the servant made sure everything was in place, he left the room. At that moment, a shadow flashed through the window and grabbed Robin's neck. What the hell are you? It was Mila. She wasn't even half as calm as she seemed when they met at the gate. She was choked when she was Robin in front of her, but she didn't want to make a scene in front of all those guards and commoners. But here acting is unnecessary. Why is everyone asking me this question recently? Am I very handsome for a human? Robin laughed, ignoring that he was being choked. Don't you dare try to change the subject. More than a century ago, you were already old and at the 10th level of energy foundation. How is it possible that you are now a 12-year-old and you aren't even at the 1st level of energy foundation? Mila shouted as she tightened her grip on Robin's neck. All right, it's me. I didn't think you had such a strong memory. It seems like I left a long-lasting impression, huh? Hee hee, but you made a mistake in one thing. I wasn't old at the time. I was a teenager just like you. Robin said with a weak voice. Being hanged in mid-air wasn't fun at all. Liar. She threw him aside but controlled her strength to make sure not to harm him greatly. I was and still the absolute genius in the entire kingdom. No one inside the Black Sun Kingdom would dare say he had a better talent than me. But you say that you were stronger than me by a whole level when we were at the same age. Is that old man still alive? Robin said as he shook off his clothes after the fall. Who do you mean? Mila narrowed her eyes. The old man who was taking care of your safety when we met. He must have spotted my real age back then. Bring him here, and he can testify. Let us talk after that. Chapter 13. Guards, summon Uncle Brown for me. Tell him it's an important matter that can't be delayed. Mila's voice echoed across the large house, which made all the servants and guards frightened. They started to jump out of the windows and doors to look for Uncle Brown. I don't know what you're up to, but everything will be revealed soon. Mila looked deeply at Robin, then went to sit on the main seat and closed her eyes. Robin shrugged his shoulders and sat down in his previous seat like nothing had happened, signaling at Caesar to relax. Caesar was almost going crazy. Why did his father choose this particular woman if he knew that there might be problems? And why did he tell her about his age, and he made her angry even more? 10 minutes passed in intense silence. Finally, an old man's voice echoed. What do you want, girl, to call me from the bar like this? Don't you know that an old man like me should, His words were interrupted when his eyes fell on a smiling young man. It's you. But your bones age? How? The memories of the strong are strong as well, and his existence had already left a profound impression on him when he saw Robin at the outer beast zone all those years ago. He knew it was Robin the moment he saw him. It's good that you're here, Uncle Brown. That brat says he was my age when we met in the outer beast zone. Is that right? Uncle Brown sighed, then shook his head. No. As I expected, you're just a swindler, and he was a year younger than you. Uncle Brown. This isn't funny at all. After a moment of silence, Mila shifted her from the smiling Robin to her uncle. Do you see me laughing? The boy was really 14 when you met him. I didn't want to tell you then so you wouldn't get obsessed with him and walk away from the path your father laid for you. He shook his head and admitted. All this with Robin sitting next to him nodding his head and smiling like he was listening to music, and Caesar sitting on the edge of the chair with his eyes wide open as if he was watching a play. A full year younger. Stronger by a full level. Ha ha. All those years I thought I am the most talented in my age group for the past few centuries. But you were telling me that my thoughts were already nonsense since I was a teenager? You knew and didn't tell me. Her chest shook as she pointed at her uncle and shouted. Mila took a few seconds to control her breathing and sat down again, then looked at Robin. What's your name? What is your real age? How do you change your bones age? What are you really doing here? And why did you decide to expose yourself to me? I think the first and second questions can be answered together. I'm Robin Burton. Do you still remember the name? Robin said softly. Robin, huh? The person I was going to challenge when I met you. This really explains a lot, and will confirm your true age, and that you are not some monster shapeshifter who lived for thousands of years. Of course, that's if you are honest. Uncle Brown, use our fastest communication bird and have one of our followers near Jura go into town and try to get some old man there to paint a picture of Robin Burton. Make him say he's making a book about geniuses or something. Uncle Brown nodded and quickly retreated. May I continue? As for your third question, you can say that I ate a strange herb and came back to how I am now. But that's not the truth, is it? Mila said sarcastically. Maybe, but that's the only answer you'll get from me. Robin shrugged his shoulders. For your fourth question. As you can see, my little brother and I are weak now, and I can't find a place to take shelter until we get stronger, so I came to you to collect your debt. My request is that you protect me and my brother and provide a decent place to train with some recurses for 5 years. Why do you think I would agree? Mila narrowed her eyes. Where is this guy getting his confidence from? A girl of your stature, talent, and strength would not risk losing her peace of mind because of breaching your oath, especially if my requirements are this low. And for your last question, I chose to expose my talent to you to maximize your investment in me as much as possible, Robin said with a smile. Are you saying I should invest in someone who might grow to be stronger than me? Mila raised her eyebrows in surprise. Are you afraid of competition? Afraid of competition? Of course not. As a teenager, she was jumping from duchy to find geniuses at her age and beat them up. Her legend spread like wildfire until she became the prime of her generation and no one dared to accept her challenges again. In addition, the current power gap between her and Robin is so huge that it is impossible for him to catch up. Smart. You and your brother can sleep in one of the empty rooms while we wait for the drawing from Jura City. You are not allowed to leave before it arrives, Mila stated while a slight killing intent flashed in her eyes, causing Caesar to swallow his saliva automatically. After that thorny conversation, a servant came to escort Robin and Caesar to one of the largest rooms in the house, where the two lived in lavishly for 2 days. Or in a more accurate sense, Robin who lived lavishly while Caesar was counting every breath, afraid of what would happen if something went wrong with the painting. After 2 days, the drawing finally arrived from the city of Jura. Mila examined it for a few minutes, then sighed and summoned Robin and Caesar. Looks like you're right. Your real age and identity are confirmed. You were really more talented than me at the time. Interesting. I'd like to see if you'll achieve that same level in the second chance you get for yourself. Mila said with indifferent eyes. I agree to your terms. I will use my name to send you and your little brother to the best martial institution in the duchy. It is the place where the sons of our nobles gather. You can study there for 10 years. As for the resources, I will dedicate 100 gold coins per month for each of you. Is that appropriate? Mila said calmly. But when those words fell in Caesar's ears, he was shocked. 100 gold coins a month. Even selling the skin of a level 14 monster, suitable for making middle-grade weapons and armor, didn't earn him that much. Haha, you did not disappoint me, Mila. I mean Aunt Mila. I assure you that you will not regret your decision. Shameless. Who do you call Aunt? You are my age. Servant, take these two and throw them at the martial institution. Oh, give this message to the Uncle Felix there. Chapter 14. Soon enough, Robin and Caesar arrived at the institution, its high walls and imposing gate, sufficient to raise Robin's hopes and instill some awe in Caesar's heart. Bowing down, the servant called, I am by order of Lady Mila Bradley, with a letter to Sir Felix Bradley, the distinguished head of the institution. 2 guards at the 10th level came. After exchanging some questions, they escorted the 3 to the office of the head of the institution. On the way, Robin and Caesar were busy looking around them to get a general idea of where they would spend the next 10 years. The institution was very spacious and well organized. Robin spotted areas with large villas with backyards, another area where there are smaller-sized buildings. There were also huge and heavily guarded buildings. After a few minutes, the 5 arrived at their destination, a medium-sized building with several high-leveled guards. After exchanging some information, the 2 guards retreated and returned to the gate, while one of the guards serving in front of the president's office took the message from the servant's hand. Wait here, and entered. He left for a few moments, then called, Come. After the servant had finished his job, he retreated in silence. When Robin and Caesar stepped inside, they found the chief guard coming towards the door to come out. Behind him, a man who looked like a middle-aged scholar sitting behind a desk smiling. Waited until the guard got out, and the 3 were alone, then said, I'm curious, who exactly are you to earn a nomination from Mila personally, and even assign such an allowance per month? In response to the head of the institution, our names are Robin and Caesar Burton. Lady Mila owes me, and this is her way of repaying the favor. She's a really generous lady. Robin didn't try to hide anything. Since Mila knew him at first sight, why would he try to hide his identity? The Burton family has thousands peering its surname, and even more of those who've seen him in the past and are still alive today. So if he doesn't completely change his appearance, it's impossible for him to evade being discovered, and there's no need for that anyway. Huh? Mila owes you. Felix was surprised and looked at the mortal boy standing in front of him. He is at the age of 12, but he had not reached the 1st level yet. This is scum among scum. No matter how he looked at him and the kid next to him, he didn't find anything special. But he didn't push the matter further. Whatever the reason is, as long as Mila didn't say it herself, it wouldn't be proper to know him in other ways. It's okay then. I will assign you the numbers 207 and 208. You can receive student badges from the coordination office and house keys with the same numbers. You can join the lectures every day at 10 in the morning, and with this paper, you can spend your allowances from the treasury at the beginning of each month in the form of coins or resources. That's up to you, he said while stamping a few papers with his personal seal and threw them at Robin, then signaled them to dimes. Robin bowed a little, and Caesar followed. Then they both left. Handing over badges and keys to the houses went smoothly, and when they went to the treasury, Robin chose to exchange all 200 operations with energy stones. Every now and then a group of students passes by and instantly becomes surprised by the view of the 2 mortals carrying huge bags of stones on their curved backs. Then they laugh and continue on their way. This continued until the 2 of them reached their new homes. Inside house 207, it's been a long day, but finally we can start training properly, Robin said with a laugh as he went to choose a room, when suddenly the sound of knocking on the main door sounded. Robin went and opened it to find a group of young men. Their boss was smiling at first, but he found that Robin was just a mortal. His smile vanished. Go and call your master. I have no master. I am the owner of this house. Can I help you with something? Robin replied plainly. Owner of what? Hey kid, don't waste our time and go call your master. That right. If he is too arrogant to come out, then at least tell us who he is. Robin waited until they all finished. Too bad, but I am really the owner here. What can I help you with? You? How can a mere mortal like you have the same rights as us? We have heard that there are 2 new students. Don't tell me the other one is also a mortal like you. The young man was shocked when he heard Robin. This was a respected institution that only accepted the talented nobles. He's just like me, is that it? We are kind of busy right now, so… Robin said emotionlessly as he gestured for them to leave. You? I don't know where you and the other scum came from, and I don't care either, but I'm Remus, son of Marcus Rufus, so behave with me. Hey, I just remembered something. My house just happened to be cramped lately, and I need another one to turn it into a nightclub for me and my noble friends here. You wouldn't mind if I took house number 208, right? Remus said it with a cruel smile on his face. Actually, I do extremely mind. Are you saying you want to resort to violence? Remus raised his fist. No, I just mind. If you insist on taking the house, I'll hand you the keys. Robin said without emotion, while Caesar was in the back looking at him with a strange look. Give me the keys. Remus did not believe him, but tried anyway. No ordinary person enters the institution. Although he is confident of his background, at least he expected some resistance and threats. In fact, the house request was just his way to know more about Robin's background. Here you go. Robin threw the keys to him, then went inside and closed the door, leaving the group of young men in shock before they burst into laughter, and soon the sound of singing and laughter echoed from House 208. Caesar looked at him. You could have at least asked for some money in exchange. The house was not important. House 207 could easily accommodate both of them. And of course, he knew that they could not defend the house yet. So Robin acted normally, and it suited his style. He won't enter uncertain battles. Robin laughed. No, we may not need the house now, but we will definitely need it later. If I take some coins for it or say I'm willing to give it, I won't have any face to call it back. Let them have their fun for now. I'll send you to beat them up later and take it back for me. Chapter 15. That all-seeing Big Brother said, I'll discover some kind of patterns when I get back to the first level of energy cultivation. I'm so excited to get back as soon as possible. I'm afraid we're going to part ways here. Robin said, narrowing his eyes. What? We are parting. What do you mean by this? Caesar was startled to hear those words as if they were the harshest curse in existence. Take your share of the stones and go upstairs, you idiot. Don't show me your face before you break through to the first level. Robin approached and kicked Caesar in the butt, who froze in place for a bit, then laughed and took half the stones before running upstairs. Thus, their training began. Although both of them had a huge experience in cultivation methods and shortcuts, they did not even try to train on the way from the cave to here. Training energy and strengthening the foundations requires high concentration and a clear mind for meditation. Finally, they reached a safe environment full of training resources. No need to hold themselves back. A week passed, too. Level 1 is laying the first foundation on which to build the rest, and it normally takes a few months or even years, but suddenly a loud voice echoes from the loft. Ha! I'm officially a cultivator again. I did it before you. Caesar was very proud of himself. Although he naturally progressed faster since he had reached level 14 before and had the same training technique that Robin had modified, he still felt proud that he was able to get ahead of his father in something. Caesar jumped from the second floor and came down to continue his bragging, but what he saw made him mute. He found Robin in a meditative position in his room with his eyes turned bright green. The space around him seemed a bit illusory. What's going on here? Did he break through to the first level already? No, even breaking through to level 20 shouldn't cause such a scene, Caesar said while taking a step back, but quickly regained his balance and sat in front of the door waiting for any reaction from his father. It's been 2 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Caesar is starting to get very worried. This is not supposed to happen. It was just a simple break through the first level that even children could do. After 2 more days, the glowing in Robin's eyes finally stopped. Then he smiled and stood up. Patterns, huh? Ha ha ha, patterns, patterns. Robin said as he looked around with intense curiosity. He was in an ecstasy state. Whenever he looks around him, he sees certain patterns in everything. They look like drawings in certain things, or as a way of moving in a second, arranging some factors in another, and so on, but definitely, everything has a pattern that distinguishes it from the rest. The mirror in front of him, for example, shows patterns in the form of drawings over his reflected image. The bedboards have patterns as if they were carved inside the wood. Even in the wind, he saw patterns in the way it moves. After looking around and examining everything for a while, he seemed to realize something and then called out, "Caesar, come here." Caesar, who was sitting next to the door, jumped up and stood in front of Robin, who immediately began to examine him. And as he expected, there are already patterns on Caesar's skin. Then he cuts Caesar's finger and meditates on the blood, and he also found patterns on it. The whole world has changed in his eyes. Everything has its own patterns. Although he did not understand what this is and what it is doing, he realized that the reason he could see is definitely the law of truth. But he has not laid his pillars with the law yet. So what will happen when he does? Robin was in a very good mood today. He said with a laugh, "I'm hungry. I guess we're in the second month, right? Let's collect our money and go eat something decent." The two of them easily cashes out their allowance from the treasury, but this time they took it as coins. The first level of energy foundation didn't consume many energy stones, and they still had a lot left. Their walk around the institution did not go unnoticed this time either. Those who thought they were mysterious before, it is now clear that they are only at the first level, and compared to their age, they were trash. The two were not spared from the indirect teasing and laughter from afar, but the two had enough experience to remain calm. Robin said with a smile, "Hey, I don't remember you ate a meal in a fancy restaurant before. How about the first time today?" The two of them left the institution and asked around for the biggest restaurant in the area. It looked like a normal picnic, but Caesar noticed his father looking around him with a big smile on his face like a child seeing the world for the first time. He didn't know that. It's actually the first time he saw the real world. Even inside the restaurant, Robin caught the eyes of those near them when he laughed loudly as he grabbed a piece of mountain rhinoceros meat and examined it as a masterpiece. "Oh, big brother, what are you doing?" Caesar did not care what was happening around them, but what Robin's doing was really weird. "What do you think I'm doing? Just casually breaking down a few laws, ha ha ha." The answer shocked Caesar. When he was about to say something, Robin stood up, throw a couple of golden coins on the table, and start walking out. Caesar quickly caught up with Robin and asks puzzledly, "Breaking down laws? What was that?" "Since I entered the first level and was able to use the laws that I studied earlier, I started seeing patterns on everything. And from what I noticed till now, I think those patterns are the laws that run the world," Robin said confidently. You see the laws with your own eyes?" Caesar was startled hearing this. "Exactly," Robin smiled. "Now let's buy some firewood. I'm going to have a long talk with the major law of fire, ha ha ha." Caesar did not know what to say. Seeing the laws. One of the most difficult tasks of producing a technique to control a law is to first identify and confirm the existence of this law, then get a feel for a few truths about what the law does and the key factors to control it, and then develop a technique to take advantage of all of that. But Robin says now, he simply erased the first hurdle. And as for the second and third, what is difficult about it when the law is in front of it like an open book waiting to be read? When his thinking got this far, Caesar stopped in the middle of the road, forcing Robin to turn back to pull him by his ears. Chapter 16. Although the market was not far from the restaurant, Robin decided to take the long road and looked around it all the way, astonished by everything and anything. Occasionally he stops to buy different fruits and simple items and examine them with excitement. The restaurant and the walk to the market were just a chance for Robin to see more things with his new ability. The two arrived at the central market about an hour later, and it was a one worthy of Bradley's Pearl City, many times larger than that of Juras, filled with shops of various sizes and shapes, where guards and powerful experts were scattered like ants. The small merchants spread out sheets on the ground and shouted loudly for their merchandise, hoping that they collect enough money to rent one of those shops one day. Robin also noticed that there are several huge platforms on which large numbers of humans of both sexes and different ages are stacked, stripped of their clothes, and in front of each group a person calls out their qualities and prices. "Come closer. Come to this site. I have everything you want. I have the most beautiful and ugliest of women, the strongest of men and the weakest of them. If you have a little or a lot of money, you will not walk from here without a slave to satisfy you." It was clear that these were the platforms of slaves. Robin paused in front of one of the platforms for a while, looking at a boy a little younger than him, and mired in thought, then nodded and walked. "When we get back to the institution, ask for me if we can bring slaves into our personal house, and if it's permissible, ask about the maximum number of slaves allowed for each student." Caesar did not understand why would Robin ask about such a thing. They had been on their own all their lives and did not need anyone's help, much less something like slaves. But he nodded and did not try to argue. Everything went smoothly. They found a huge store selling all kinds of wood, so Robin bought a little of each kind. But the final quantity was mind-blowing. When the two of them stood in front of the large pile, Robin looked at Caesar in a meaningful way. Caesar's eyes widened, and he took 2 steps back. "Over my dead body. How the hell should I carry all of this? Do you want to kill me?" Robin shook his head. "Youth of these days are useless." "Uncle, I'll buy a wooden cart too. How much is your account?" Robin gave 1 gold coin and a few silver coins for everything. Then he and Caesar, who was pulling the wooden cart beside him, left towards their house. Sitting downstairs in front of large amounts of different wood that Caesar had categorized into piles of each, Robin frowned. "All right then, I will start looking into the major fire heavenly law as I train to the 2nd level of energy cultivation at the same time. Don't you dare come down and disturb me. Unless the house catches on fire because of my research, you are allowed to come and help me put it out, or put me out. Well, I trust you will know what to do then. Dismiss." Caesar chuckled, then went up to the 2nd floor. When Robin knew he was alone at last, he brought a handful of wood from the first pile and set it on fire then Saturday, and watched. Patterns of fire were evident in the flames and distributed in different degrees of intensity, the densest near the wood until it disappeared completely at the furthest. He did not move for a few days where he finished on the first woodpile, so he sighed from the wonders of the world and shook his head before. "I was like a blind walking in a strange space." Then he went to get something to eat and came back to train for the 2nd level so that Caesar would not be far ahead of him. He kept training as he consumed the energy stones for 7 days, cutting about half the distance to the 2nd level in one go, before returning to complete his research on the next pile of wood, which was more succulent than the previous one. Robin decided to bring different types of wood for one purpose, which is to try out which type of wood will produce a flame with clearer patterns to make it easier for him to search, and if they are all the same, that's okay too. But after he sat in front of the small succulent pile and lit it while eating a chicken leg, his features quickly changed from anticipation to shock. "The patterns, they're different," he shouted in his mind. No, that's not supposed to happen. "What's going on here?" Robin said as he got closer to the burning pile of wood. Most of the pattern in front of him was identical to the one before it, but there were slight changes in several places. How is it possible that the same law has several versions of patterns? It is known that every path had numerous branches called minor laws, and these branches certainly had different patterns, but now he is looking at just pure fire. Not sparks, heat, melting, or evaporation, or etc. The pattern is not supposed to change for the same thing. Or at least that's what he thought theoretically before he conducted the experiments. After a period of astonishment, he brought the chicken's leg in his hand towards the fire until the flames enveloped it, and as he expected, the flame patterns around the chicken's feet have changed. He quickly got up to pick out small batches of all the wood and put them separately, then lit them all at once, fetched his bed sheet, bread, papers, and a few other random items, then lit them separately as well. And in each pile, the patterns were a little different. Impossible. It's impossible for the Flame Emperor to have seen such a fundamental difference when he announced that he had mastered the fire major heavenly law. At the most, he gained some enlightenment from observing fire and its actions and truths for thousands of years. The problem is that the fire outwardly seems identical, but what I see now denies that completely. Does that mean the fire major heavenly law that the Flame Empire built its foundation around is incomplete? No, not only that. What about the rest of the major heavenly laws that have been declared completed? Is it only relatively complete? When Robin thought about this, he sat down and started to sweat. The sweating was probably from the huge fire around him that reached the ceiling. But he considered the sweat a sign of tension and focus. Is this what the all-seeing Big Brother meant when he said that the planet is still nascent and that I take things slowly when I see patterns? What a pressure. What a responsibility. What a thrill. Ha ha ha, I've got the whole world to explore with no strings attached. When I'm done with it, won't be nascent anymore. Ha ha ha, Robin said, jumping excitedly as Caesar tried to rescue what was left of the living room. Chapter 17. After Robin finished his hysterical laughter and Caesar put out the fire, the two of them went back to what they were doing. Caesar was busy trying to break through to the second level before the end of the month, while Robin started lighting everything he saw in his way, then sit and watch. Caesar's routine has changed a lot since that day. Instead of training, eating, and sleeping, it became training, putting out the house, buying supplies instead of the ones that were burned, checking on his father's mental and physical health, then eating and sleeping. Robin's enthusiasm lasted for about 2 weeks. Even his food was cooked by himself on top of different piles each day to see how the fire patterns would change under the different metals and if the food inside would affect the patterns. But soon he realized that such a process would not end overnight and began to set his dates better as he devoted a period of his day to energy training and increased hours of sleep. A few days before the end of the second month of the academy, Caesar broke through to the second level. But this time he did not shout and try to brag in front of his father again. He just started his training towards the third level silently, because he knows that Robin has been busy all the time with the major heavenly law of fire that he is preparing for him. At the beginning of the third month, Robin's voice was heard in the house. Hey, Caesar, did you like your room? Come, let us have a little chat. Caesar was amazed for a moment, but left the training and immediately went down. What did you do in the assignment I gave you regarding the topic of the slaves? Robin said, I asked one of the guards. He said that each student can bring 5 slaves to his house within the institution, but he will be responsible for all their needs. 5. A little more than I expected. How much money do we have right now? We still haven't pulled out the 200 coins for this month that we can bring in at any time, and there are about 90 coins left from last month after subtracting the cost of all that stuff you burned. Okay, go to the treasury and get 100 gold coins and leave the other 100 for training resources. I want you in front of me in 10 minutes. Robin said, and then pointed to the door. And indeed, within 8 minutes Caesar returned with a bag of coins on his waist and another huge one of stones on his back. When Robin saw this, he got up from his chair and said, let's go. Then he left the institution and Caesar is behind him. Where are we going this time, Dad? Although Caesar knew the answer, he asked anyway. To buy a slave or 2. Why? We never needed slaves. I always take care of you. Am I failing you lately? I don't want you to take care of my needs anymore. Focus on being strong. Did you forget our deal so quickly? You should protect me. I just need someone to hand me pens and clean up what I break. That doesn't suit you, Sir Caesar. Robin laughed. In fact, there was another real reason for this, but he refused to reveal it before it was achieved, so he wouldn't look like a fool if he failed, and not to frighten Caesar badly. Caesar didn't know what to say. Those words touched his heart, and his resolve to become stronger increased again. The two of them reached the slave platforms quickly. Robin began examining them one by one from the bottom of each platform. Some slaves even hid their naked private parts automatically because of his weird glances, but he giggled and continued his slow pace. Robin was using the eye of truth to find out a few simple things like age, level of training, and even the strength of the soul. Things like this that should have been impossible unless he was vastly more powerful than the target, but it became too easy for him to know those things about anyone just by looking. After he spent about an hour passing the slaves, he stopped in front of a young man. Muscular, deadly handsome with long black hair, but his body was full of scars, some of which seemed to be very near to killing him. The truth said is that he is 17 years old, at the 5th level of energy cultivation, and has a normal soul strength. These stats are slightly above the general average in noble families, and considering that he's a slave, that's pretty good. Uncle, how much is this slave? Robin asked the fat merchant who was calling for people to come atop the platform. The fat merchant turned his face around smiling at the potential customer, to find that he had been interrupted by 2 children in the 1st and 2nd levels of energy cultivation. Are you 2 lost? Shoo, go away, or I'll put you next to the rest of the slaves. You damn pig. I asked you politely, and that's how you answer? Looks like you don't want your life anymore. Robin shouted, then quickly raised the badge which said he was affiliated with the Bradley's Army Institution. When the fat man was about to raise his whip to strike the big-mouthed boy, he saw the badge and immediately knew what it meant. This boy is either the son of a noble or supported by the power of a nobleman. Suddenly the fat man knelt down. Oh, it seems that from my life with the slaves have made me become stupid. I couldn't see how great my young master is. How about I compensate you with a 20% discount, said the fat man, smiling and rubbing his hand. Just tell me about this guy. Robin pointed at the long-haired youth. That? We call him the Mute. He's 17 years old, and he's a level 5 with his tongue cut out. An expedition to the Dark Ruins found him like that, and when they tried to save him, he killed 2 of those at the 5th level and seriously wounded one of the 6th before he is suppressed. His characters make him qualified to work in almost everything, and he can be used as a bodyguard for young nobles like you. Ahem. You see, this slave is very special, and it cost us a lot for that. Its price is 100 gold coins, said the Precious, smiling. Caesar couldn't contain himself. 100 what? All the slaves are between 5 or 10 coins. Greedy pig. You're trying to scam us. How dare I, young master? I swear to you, what I said is true. His fighting ability is very high, and we lost 3 of our men before subduing him. If I sold him for less than that, it would be a great loss for me. Of course, you can look at the rest of my collection and forget about this one, the fat merchant said with a malicious laugh. Robin indeed had scanned the rest on the platforms, but none was as perfect as this young man. He finally decided that he was worth investing in. A bag containing 80 gold coins found its way to the face of the merchant, who accepted it wistfully. That short bastard still remembers the discount, but found no one to blame but himself. Robin cut a piece of cloth from the furniture on the stage and threw it at the young man to cover his body, then looked at him in the eye and said, "You are mine now." Chapter 18. Sitting on his favorite couch in House 207, Robin stared at the Mute standing in front of him for a while, then said, "I don't know how you got to the Dark Ruins and why you have stayed in such a dangerous place. But as someone who has learned the cultivation techniques and even reached the 5th level, you definitely have some decent background. You see, I paid a lot for you, and I am not ready to give you up, but I will make a deal with you. I will give you 1 month to finish any unfinished business you still have, then come back for me. But I will give you a warning in advance. If I don't see you in front of me within a month, I will report you to the authorities as a runaway slave, and you will be pursued and killed. What do you think?" His mute eyes widened upon hearing this. He did not expect anything good from this new master of his, especially such generosity. Even if he was threatened to be reported to the authorities, this is still a very generous offer that most nobles would not choose, because the slave purchase contract is in his hand, and the sale contract is still in the hands of the merchant. By filing a complaint with either of them, he would be hunted down and killed by the armies around the world. This was a cross-border pact so that kingdoms and empires would keep the fruitful slave trade safe. If the slaves can escape easily or they can revolt against their masters, this trade would not have existed until now. Strict laws from the governments and special forces from the armies dedicated to the slaves' hunt are the only reason such trade is still going. For example, if a slave kills his master, he and all the slaves of that master and their families will be killed by sitting on a wooden spike. Without further delay, the Mute knelt with his hands on the ground and nodded in agreement. That was an opportunity he had dreamed of for so long that had never thought it would come after he had become a slave. "Go. I expect you'll be in front of me in 1 month from today, or you will suffer the consequences yourself." Robin waved his hand. The Mute nodded again, then turned and ran away before his new master take back his words. "What do you think he will do during the month, Dad?" Caesar said while looking at the young man's nude back. "I don't know. Maybe he would meet his family or take care of the one who cut off his tongue. I just want his mind to be fully present with me when I start using him," Robin said without caring. "What does his state of mind has to do with anything? Isn't he just here to help you with your research?" Caesar looked confusingly at Robin. "It's none of your business. Secondly, I told you not to call me my dad. Not even when we're alone," Robin said as he jumped out of his seat to kick Caesar on the butt. Quickly, 3 weeks passed, during which Robin broke through to the 2nd level of energy cultivation. At the same time, he kept advancing in his studies on the major fire heavenly law, which began to bear fruit. He had been trying to identify the reason behind the ever-changing patterns. For example, when the fire touches a completely dry wood, the patterns aren't the same as it touches wood that still contains a percentage of water or the trunks of plants that store the element of light in high concentrations. The fire path here doesn't burn the wood only, but it interferes and tries to burn the rest of those equal heavenly paths inside that piece of wood. This results in an overlap and distortions that appear in the patterns. The question is, how can he produce a pure flame to study the major fire heavenly law from? There is nothing like an independent fire in nature. Fire has to depend on something to ignite. Even fighters who use the path of fire must burn their inner energy to ignite it. This puzzle was the current obstacle in his way. While he was concentrating on making plans for research for the coming period, someone came through the door, a tall, handsome young man with long black hair, wearing short clothes, stained with blood all over and a trace of a stab clearly visible in the heart area on his shirt. But he himself was fine. It was clear that he took those clothes from a corpse. Robin noticed the mute's new clothes, but then he turned again to look at the burning flame in front of him. "I see you're done with your unfinished business." The young man moved silently and went to stand behind Robin, expressing his approval. "Do you have a name you want me to call you? You can write it down or point to things so I can know it," said Robin, starting to poke the grilled snake to change his position slightly. Silent thought for a moment, then shook his head. Robin didn't know if it meant he didn't have a name, or if he hated that name and didn't want it anymore. But he didn't care. "Well, starting today your name will be Theo." Robin chose a name randomly. "Go and get me a handful from every pile of wood outside. Then go to the kitchen, you'll find papers and carcasses of animals and beasts there. Cut them apart and throw them atop their likenesses in front of me. Oh, bring me some salt while you're in the kitchen. This snake looks delicious." Robin gave several orders in a row, but Theo remembered them all and went about his business. After a few minutes, everything was done, and Theo stood behind Robin waiting for his new orders. But Robin looked behind him. "What are you doing here? I want some privacy." "Caesar, come here," Robin shouted. "What do you want, Fath, big brother?" Caesar said, who jumped from the upper floor. "Take Theo with you. Give him a good bath, then take him to the market, buy him clothes of his own and a weapon of his choosing. When it's done, teach him my cultivation technique and guide him personally to the next levels." Both Caesar and Theo were greatly surprised. First of all, this is not a treatment that should be given to a slave. Caesar still thinks Theo is here to help his father in his research, so why would he want to train him? And Theo was surprised by this generosity, which he was not accustomed to before, and more surprised from the fact that he asked a 12-year-old, level 2 kid to lead his training while he was older and more powerful. "Why are you still standing there? Clowns, haven't you taken your orders? Scram." Robin picked up a few pieces of burning wood in front of him, held them with both arms in his chest, then started throwing it at them one by one until they both disappeared from view. But his simple act almost broke Theo's mind. That burning logs did not burn his master's hand, but did not even leave a mark on his clothes. When he looked next to him, he found Caesar laughing, not surprised at what he saw, as if it was something normal. So he began to completely re-evaluate these two. It seems that they are not just two children who want to brag about having a strong slave. Chapter 19. Weeks began to pass quickly and in a similar routine in most respects. Even Theo got used to his new lifestyle, which was completely different from what he expected. Robin treated him very similarly to how he treats Caesar. His handsomeness and self-confidence increased a lot after Caesar bought him new sets of black clothes and 2 long daggers. At first, he felt displeasure that a child like Caesar became responsible for him in terms of training and guidance, but he soon realized how mistaken he was. Caesar's information and experience far surpassed him, who spent a large part of his life in the dark ruins. Especially that wondrous energy cultivation technique that Caesar taught him. It's simply magical. Even without energy stones, he can train at a high speed by simply sitting in a meditating position and activating it. Within a few weeks, he found himself on the verge of breaking through to the 6th level. Although he had been stuck at the 5th for a long time already, this cultivation technique had increased his speed several times. In addition to sitting in a meditative position daily and asking Caesar about anything he encounters about the cultivation technique, he would go to inspect Robin and see any pile about to burn out completely. Then he would automatically increase it of the same type. Although he did not realize what Robin was doing, the sight of him putting his hand in the fire to move something, or sometimes sitting on top of a burning pile of wood without being burned, it told him that this person is not normal, and he certainly does not waste his time in vain. So he continued his tasks without asking questions. The only useful thing about Robin's tests, in his opinion currently, is that he doesn't have to prepare any food. Robin was grilling day and night. All he has to do is bring him some salt and spices next to him, and he will do the rest. As for Robin himself, he began to make great progress in the path of fire. Although finding a pure fire is impossible, he found a promising route. Robin discovered that a large part of the fire pattern is the same no matter how much the fuels change, and the other changing parts can be separated by observation and be used for reconstruction. Meaning, if there is a certain variable part, it changes in most of the fuel piles in front of him, but it will stay identical in 2 or 3 of them. Robin decided to hunt and collect those most seen variables and determine them as the original part of the pattern. He memorized the constant pattern of the major heavenly law of fire which appears in every burned thing, and currently, he began to fill the gaps for the variable parts with their constants that he discovers. He decided to reward himself with a few hours of rest after each time he found a constat, and he used this time to reach the 3rd level of energy cultivation. As for Caesar, he almost didn't move from his room. Even the grilled meat Theo brings to him. He wants to gain strength as quickly as possible. And this is what he does. He has reached the 4th level in just 5 months. "Caesar, Theo, come here," Robin shouted one day. Within a moment the two of them were standing in front of him. Caesar spoke. "What do you need us for, big brother?" "As far as I remember, today is the beginning of our 6th month in the institution. How much money do we have at the moment?" "Our expenses weren't much, apart from your fuels and Theo's daggers. We brought a few more energy stones. We have about 350 gold coins," replied Caesar. "Okay, take Theo with you and go to the treasury. Get the 200 for this month. The total will be enough to get you a good weapon, then go buy a martial art from the institution's library that teaches you how to use that weapon properly." "Oh, buy a martial art to teach the art of daggers to Theo too." "Huh, but I've never used weapons in my life. My fist is enough. Also, Theo used to use a dagger before and doesn't need some art to teach him. Isn't it better if we save this money to buy energy stones? The higher our levels, the higher our consumption will be," Caesar said, surprised by his older brother's decision. "You'll need a weapon to better control the major heavenly law of fire. Do you think you'll be fighting stupid beasts forever? Pick a weapon that suits your overwhelming style of fighting." Same with Theo. His style is almost suicidal and depends on the trade-off hit for hit. "Is this a dagger art for you? Make him a decent fighter for me. I won't waste my time on him." Then he goes to commit suicide against some random rat. Caesar and Theo looked at each other, then turned back to look at Robin. They both nodded and went out to carry out the surprising but exciting task at the same time. This was the second Caesar and Theo went on a little picnic together, but just like the first one, it wasn't filled with much joy. They headed straight to the weapon store nearest to the Bradley Military Institution to choose Caesar's new weapon. He wandered in the store for about half an hour looking between swords of different shapes and sizes. Swords undoubtedly are the most common and most practical weapons, but he did not feel a specific link between him and the sword. So he decided to search for the rest of the weapons. Bows, cleavers, hammers, and iron fists. Caesar was surprised and happy to see those, but he remembered Robin's words that he needed a weapon to wield the major heavenly law of fire in his attacks, and iron fists wouldn't be much different from his bare hands. So he left it in displeasure and continued the search until he arrived at the spears area. In terms of extracting the brute force of the user, spears were definitely among the best, with a long range making them more suitable for controlling the major heavenly law of fire. But there was something in the spears that irritated him. "Uncle, spears have a good range, but require more accuracy for wielding, and that doesn't suit me. Do you have something with the same range as the spears, but depends more on strength?" Caesar asked, not sure if such a thing existed. "Oh, you mean the halberd. Not many are interested in those nowadays. Come on, I'll show you my collection of halberds," said the shopkeeper happily. The halberd is one of the most expensive weapons. Caesar did not know what this halberd was, but he followed the store owner to see it. And he liked what he saw. The same length of spears with what looks like a big cleaver on top instead of the pointed tip. That's what he was looking for. Range with strength, it's perfect. After going through the entire group of halberds, he pointed at the thickest one of them. I'll buy this one. Haha, you have an excellent eye, young man. This is the best halberd here. And the most expensive of them all. It's 120 gold coins. The shop owner said with a smile. Too expensive, but all right. I'll take it if you give me the 2 iron fists outside as a gift. Agreed. Caesar came out smiling, happy with his new weapon, then took Theo with him and headed to the institution's library to buy their new martial arts. But when they got back home, both of them had traces of beating and Caesar's halberd was broken into 3 pieces. Chapter 20. What happened to you? Robin jumped out of the piles of fire when he saw the sight. Several bruises all over the 2 faces. Caesar's right eye was swelled and Theo's left arm was hanging in a weird shape, and a large amount of blood was dripping from his fingers. What do you think? Caesar threw the broken halberd aside and went to get water and bandages to treat himself, while Robin hurried to expose Theo's dangling arm to see what was wrong with it. His shoulder was dislocated, and there were cuts all over his arm, from the shoulder all the way to his fingers. Whoever did it was enjoying his time to the fullest. They used my own halberd to do it. Caesar, who was sitting on a chair by the side, stated, then started to put wet cotton on his eyes. Robin knew very well who he meant. It was the group of youths who ripped off House 208 from them, and since that day, they have been harassing them whenever an opportunity arises. The more they find them silent, the more they grow more violent. Especially after Theo joined them, it became a common sight to see him with tattered clothes and a bruise or 2 on his face every time he goes out to buy supplies or fuels. For bullying a slave is easier than bullying 2 students who carry an official badge. The 3 of them have become the entertainment of this group. But because of their current weakness, Robin pretended that he didn't see anything. He was just increasing Theo's quota of energy stones to use their energy to heal himself, while Caesar grinds his teeth and intensifies his training, even more, to become stronger quickly. Caesar, who was sitting on one of the chairs dressing his wounds, felt for the first time in his life an intense killing intent coming from Robin. It was so shocking that it made the hair of his body stand. Because he knew Robin when he was old, calm, and immersed in his studies, he got accustomed to that the option of fighting never crossed his mind. Just now he remembered that this man lived more than a century among countless beasts. Those sons of bitches. They went too far. What will happen next time? One of you walks in with one of his limbs missing, or even dead, Robin shouted, then kicked the door with his foot and headed straight to the next house with 208 written on it. But when he got near the door, he didn't stop for a moment. With a wave of his hand, he burned the door in an instant, turning it into smoke, then entered directly while yelling, "Get out here, you damn pigs. You bastard, you want to die." The head of the group, Remus, who was sitting cuddling a girl on his lap, was surprised by the scene but quickly held on, threw the girl aside, then rushed at Robin to smack him. But he heard Robin suddenly yell, "Touch me, and I report you to Lady Mila Bradley." Remus's fist stopped just before it touched Robin's nose. "You're bluffing. How does a scum like you know the #1 genius in the kingdom?" But his heart was beating fast. If it was Lady Mila Bradley who had nominated Robin and his brother, their presence as students here, even though they were just weak commoners, became reasonable. He is lying. If he knew Lady Mila, or even anyone of value, he would ask for his help by now. Right, Lady Mila is destined to become a sage. How could she know those peasants? At this point, Robin reached his hand and grasped Remus by the collar. "Maybe I'm lying. Do you want to try me? Come on then, touch me, Caesar or Theo, one more time, and I'll report you immediately. I want to see what Mila will do with you after she promised me a safe environment in the institution." I kept quiet because I didn't want to ask for another favor, but you're testing my patience day after day. You wretched pigs like to play? All right then, I'll play with you. What about a bet? Robin stated, starting to regain his calm a little. What kind of bet? Remus put Robin's hand away and asked. Although he was not sure of Robin's threat, the idea of angering the famous Mila Bradley forced him to think deeply about his choices. Also, the sight of the door disappearing in an instant, turning to ashes, is still stuck in his mind. It seems like I kicked an iron wall this time. A year from now, I will send my brother Caesar to formally challenge you all in the institution's arena. Whatever happens to him in the arena, I will be satisfied and I will not report you. But of course, whoever of you participates in the fights and lose will have to give us some compensation. I can sign a contract with every word I say. But until then, get out of our way. Robin's last words sent a shiver to the backs of Remus and his companions. They didn't know if it was because of Mila's threat or the presence of the tyrannical kid. But they decided that it was definitely because of the threat, refusing to object that a young man of the third level of Energy Foundation had done this to them. I agree. The moment these two words came out of his mouth, Robin nodded, then came out of the house, dragging Caesar and Theo behind, leaving the group silent for a long time. Until someone said angrily, "That Caesar is still at the 4th level. Does he really think that he will reach a level where he can defeat us all in 1 year? Does he think he is a god, or that we are useless? Hee, if he wants to kill his brother, who are we to object?" One of the girls laughed. This is indeed a suicide mission in their eyes. The people sitting here are all nobles with powerful martial arts from their families. The weakest of them is at the 6th level, and the strongest is Remus, who has been at the 10th level for over a year and is studying the laws to form his pillars. But Remus did not share the laughter, but rather came back and sat in his previous place silently, trying to think of a way to avoid the anger of Mila Bradley after he kills that boy in the arena. Robin entered the house and sat in the fire with his eyes closed in meditation. Anyone who sees him now would not notice anything. But Caesar, who had been with him for so long, knew that now he's a volcano about to explode. Weren't you a little impulsive? What can I do in 1 year? I will at most reach the 7th level. Robin opened his eyes and looked seriously at Caesar. Trust me. I'll make you strong enough to shove your broken halberd up his ass. Chapter 21. 2 months have passed since the incident. Caesar bought a new halberd and brought from the institution's library a halberd martial art for himself and daggers martial art for Theo. After that day, they both began closed-door training. Even Theo was excused of helping Robin in his research in order to focus on his training alongside Caesar. During the 2 months, Caesar's level rose to the 5th and Theo to the 6th, and both were steadily moving towards the higher level. But the real progress was made by Robin. Not because he is now at the top of the 3rd level, even though he is completely focused on his research, but because he has almost finished the composition of the perfect pattern of fire. Building on his earlier theory, Reuben patiently assembled the scattered pieces to form the perfect true pattern of the major law. Something isn't even found in nature in the first place. He technically completed it, except for one piece. No matter how much he used different fuels, that piece was different, and he couldn't find a constant shape for it. After so many attempts, he finally gave up to finish it by sitting still. So he called Theo, "Leave whatever you're doing and come here." Theo came running, and Caesar came with him out of curiosity to hear Robin say, "I have a problem. There is a part of the pattern that is always a variable in all kinds of fuels. I can only choose the strongest option available. And that's the strongest known source of the path of fire in the world. Volcanoes. Go ask for me about the nearest active volcano from here. I'm going to there today, and you'll accompany me. Hey, what are you doing there, you bastard? Go and continue your training." Robin picked up a burning bone and threw it at Caesar, who was trying to escape, but the throw was so accurate that it finally hit his butt. And indeed, they set out on the same day for an active volcano located in a small mountain range 70 miles from the city. It was very far, but because of his current level of training Robin and the fact that he now has an official identity card and wasn't afraid of trouble, he was able to reach it before the sunset of the next day. Looking at the wide crater and the viscous liquid exploding inside it, he was amazed. Wow, I had a fairly long life, but this is the first time I've seen a volcano. How magical. Theo, who was standing behind him with a large bag on his back, rolled his eyes away as if he wanted to say, "How old are you? You don't look like you're 13 yet." Then sat down to rest from the long trip and started thinking about preparing the tent and dinner. But with one look, Robin scanned the complete pattern of fire in the volcano, spotted the missing piece, drew it on a scroll, then put it in the bag and patted Theo on the shoulder. "Let's go. We're going home." "Damn, we've just arrived. At least let us rest a bit." Theo panicked and started pointing at his leg. Robin understood what he was getting at. What kind of bodyguard are you? Come on. Every minute important. Already starting to walk the same road they came from, which made Theo sigh and walk behind him. Within another day, they returned to house 207. Robin went straight into his room and instructed the two not to disturb him no matter what. He wanted to start making the law cultivation technique today. He would begin translating the complete pattern of the major heavenly law of fire into understandable instructions and write them for Caesar. But when he took out the scroll that had the missing piece of the pattern on it, he noticed something strange. The roll was so hot that it melted almost everything around it in the bag. It was clear that the piece of the pattern had an effect on it. When Robin realized this, his body shivered. This was the first time he draws some of the patterns he sees. He always tries to memorize them, and this became easy because he sees the patterns wherever he looks. But he chose to draw this piece because he will not see it again unless he makes another visit to the volcano, and he certainly does not have the energy or the time to visit a volcano every now and then. But he never expected that if he drew those patterns it could have such effect. Obviously the scroll doesn't allow the pattern to release its force, and it only translated as heat. But if I drew it on something decent, what would happen? This opened up a whole new world for him. But he quickly restrained his thoughts, shook his head, and returned to his plans to write the major law of fire cultivation technique. After another 2 weeks, he came out of his room with a thick book of about 600 pages and shouted, "Caesar, I have a little toy for you." Caesar jumped out of his seat, and in a moment he was standing in front of him. "What is it, big brother?" "In this book, there is a cultivation technique that has never been seen in this world before. The flames in nature are not pure. It's affected by the things they burn, and therefore the true form of fire cannot be known. Even the Flame Emperor definitely fell into the same trap. As for me, I collected the real, pure law. Theoretically, this flame can burn anything without resistance. It will burn down even the laws themselves. You are the first person on the face of the planet to gain this kind of power. Work hard. Don't you dare let me down." Robin handed the thick book to Caesar and then returned to his room and closed the door again. It wasn't long before the sound of snoring could be heard from inside, and an excited cry from outside. This was the first time Robin had slept satisfied with peace of mind in a very long time. That technique was the crown of his work for almost a century and a half. But it was also just the beginning of his true path. Robin slept this time for 2 days and 3 nights, but he was in an excellent mood when he woke up, especially when he saw Caesar curled up in his room practicing his new technique in earnest. Then he walked a little until he reached Theo's room and found him trying his double daggers technique. He said, "If you don't need seclusion now, come with me. I feel like I need to take a walk." When Theo heard him, he stopped what he was doing and put the long daggers in their sheath, then followed him silently. On the way, Robin said softly, "Theo, you may not know, but what Caesar is now training in is a perfect fire technique that describes the first level of the major heavenly law of fire, a flawless technique that has never and will never appear better. Since you are my subordinate now, I don't plan to leave you weak. You will be my next target. I will give you 3 days to think about what heavenly path you want, then tell me about it. And I will bring you the cultivation technique of its major heavenly law. How does that sound? You are allowed to go to the institution's library and buy any book that talks about the laws and paths. Choose whatever you see fit for you, and just give me its name. I will take care of the rest." Robin's words were said like nothing, but made Theo's mind about to fly. Perfect major law technique? I can practice any major heavenly law just by pointing at it. This was way too much for Theo's mind to keep up with. Although he looks clueless, he's still a cultivator and has a general idea of what the word major heavenly law means, nevertheless a perfect one. Also, until this moment he still sees himself as a slave to Robin and Caesar, but Robin's words made him a follower worthy of respect and treated as Caesar himself. While Theo was lost in thought and shocked, he heard Robin giggling. "Oh well, you don't make a good personal assistant anyway. It wouldn't hurt to buy one that really works for me this time." It was just then that Theo looked around and knew where they are, in front of the slaves' platforms. Chapter 22. Robin didn't buy Theo in the first place to help him with his research, and he wouldn't buy his next slave to help him either, but he has a big goal in his head, a goal that, if it's done properly, would reshape the world. Robin spent his time looking at the slave platforms, examining them slowly as he had done before, but soon he was left disappointed. No one was suitable. Robin wants something specific, a young man or woman who has not yet formed his pillars but still has a decent cultivation level. He didn't want to start with him from scratch. And at the same time, not very old, over 20, and has at least above average soul strength that will help him in training speed. Although his requirements appear very simple, the reality had failed him. Boys and girls of the age he wanted were nobles or high-class commoners that have some cultivation techniques. What would those do on the slaves' platforms? There were some he saw that hardly meet his requirements. They are those who were raised since they were toddlers to be sold as powerful slaves to gain more coins, but clear that they were accustomed to working as slaves. Their eyes were empty. They were completely broken and subjugated. And that is definitely not what Robin wanted. He continued his passage until he reached the same fat seller from before, but this seller was not foolish enough to provoke this young man again. It can also be said that he is a special customer after he exchanged 80 gold coins last time for just one slave. I see that my lord has come again. Do you have a special request that I can bring for you? The merchant smiled and rubbed his hands. Robin ignored him and looked at the slaves on his platform one by one, until he reached a 15-year-old, level 6, and average soul strength. This one can't be a commoner. The boy had many scars covering most of his face, which made him unrecognizable, and his left arm was cut off at the shoulder, which raised questions in Robin's heart. The merchant noticed and said, "He is Peon, the eldest son of Baron Camden from the nearby Lying Water Kingdom. Their lands were raided, his family was murdered, and he was captured and sold as a slave. If you are looking for strong young men to serve as guards like the mute behind you, I advise you to take him too." Robin paused and watched him for a while, then nodded. "I'll take it. How much is it?" Normally a young man like him would be worth at least 200 gold coins, but because his body is badly damaged, I will sell him to you for 90. Deal. Robin nodded. It really was a fair price for someone of the quality, even with a missing arm. Peon was disturbed hearing this. His pride as a noble still refused to believe that he had become a slave, and that this weak boy who seemed younger than him would be his new master. Yet he gathered himself together, got down on his knees, and yelled, "My lord, if you're going to buy me, please think about buying my little sister too. I'll divide my food with her, and any little place you give us to sleep. It won't cost you anything but her price, and this too I will return it to you if you give me the chance. Please, she's the only reason I prevent myself from committing suicide." Robin waited until he finished, then looked at the merchant. "Where is that little sister of his?" The merchant was very happy. "I wish all the slaves could sell each other like this." Then he said, "She's a little girl about 8 years old and barely in the second level of energy cultivation. She is still in the warehouse now. If you want, I can bring her for you to take a look." "Only 8. Bring her here to see if it's worth buying," said Robin as he turned to look at the rest of the slaves on the stage. 10 minutes later, one of the merchant's guards came with a girl in his hand, very beautiful and gentle with big, innocent eyes. Anyone who saw her would love to pat her head. Even Robin stared at her for a while, but not for her cuteness, but for the strength of her soul. The girl's soul strength is much stronger than average. It's almost catching up with me. "I'll take her too. I'll pay 95 in both." "That's very little. The girl is beautiful, and I can sell her to an old man for more than 20 coins. 100 gold coins and not one more. Do not treat me as a one-time customer. It is clear now that what I need is only available at your platform. We may have more future business together." "Sigh? All right, wait a minute. I'll get you your buying contracts." The merchant pretended to be sad but was dancing inside. He ran in a hurry to finish the 2 contracts before Robin changed his mind. Buying 2 slaves for 100 gold coins was a big deal. The little girl was in a state of confusion as she was being sold, and the 2 even argued over her price in front of her. She stood in a loss for a few breaths till she saw her brother standing on the platform looking at her. She burst into tears and jumped towards him to throw herself in his arms. Although his face was completely deformed now, she knew him instantly. She was preparing to scream and threaten suicide, but she heard her brother's voice. "Don't worry, Zara. Our master has purchased you at my request. He will take both of us. We will still be together, my dear. Don't be afraid." "Really? Are you going to stay with me?" The little girl couldn't believe what she heard. She was preparing for eternal torment or death after what happened to her family. In whatever we're going to face next. We will face it together. Peon smiled and said while wiping his sister's hair, he didn't know what kind of a man was their new master yet. It was then that the two heard Robin's voice. Come on, you two continue your meeting at your new home, said Robin, while receiving the 2 contracts from the fat merchant and paid him his money. At home, Robin is sitting in his favorite chair, and behind him stands Theo, while in front of him is the disfigured Peon and his little sister embracing his arm. Don't be afraid. I'm a man focused on research, and I need followers who do what I can't do. That's all. I won't mistreat you. Really? You. Won't you do to us as my father used to do to his slaves? Little Zara said innocently. Although she was not aware of everything around her, she certainly knew how slaves get treated, especially the females. Of course not. Look at my face. Do you think I'm the tough type? Robin smiled. Yes, Zara nodded firmly. Ahem, whatever, Peon. Do you have an unfinished business out there? I can give you my permission to leave for a month or 2 to finish it, but your sister will stay here with me. Peon was surprised and thought for a moment, then said, No, there is no one left from the Camden family except for me and my sister, and I don't have the strength to take revenge on whoever ordered the attack on us. It's enough for me to stay with my sister in peace for the rest of my life. I like your reconciliation with yourself. Well, then I'll tell you what you have to do here briefly. Peon, standing behind me is Theo. He was a slave like you, and I bought from the same merchant. What do you think of what you see now? I'll treat you just like him. All I need from you is you to train hard and get stronger quickly. Theo will teach you the energy cultivation technique that I created and will take to buy some clothes for you and your sister. Also, find you a new weapon. Whatever you used before, I don't think it will suit you now with one arm. After you choose, go with Theo to the institution's library and get a martial art for your new weapon. After Robin said it, he threw a bag of coins and his student badge for Theo so he could enter the library as his follower. Before Peon could thank him, Robin laughed. As for you, little one, I can't get myself to order you to train as hard as those monsters. How about we make a deal? You'll be responsible for helping me with my research and handing me what I need. In return, I'll give you personally some training tips. Okay. Oh, you both can choose any empty room in the house and sleep in it together. I won't separate you, but I expect you to work hard for me. Peon knelt on the ground upon hearing those words and pulled Zara to kneel beside him. Thank you, my lord. We will live at your service. Chapter 23. On that day, Theo took Peon to shop for clothes and necessities for both him and his sister. And at that, Peon didn't make it difficult for Theo. He was content with whatever he got and didn't ask or chose anything special. He began to resign to his new reality as a slave, afraid that his new master won't be happy anymore if he were too excessive. But he asked specifically for one thing, a cheap mask to cover his disfigured face. And he got what he wanted. Theo bought him a black cloth mask that hid his entire face except for his eyes that were full of sadness and cruelty. Then it was time to choose a new weapon. Peon's primary weapon was the broadsword. This, of course, was no longer possible after losing his left arm in battle, but his next choice was somewhat obvious, and he quickly found it. A light sword with a short handle, ideal for one-handed use. Then Theo took him to the institution's library to buy him a martial art to teach him the technique of the light sword. After entering it, Peon went to choose while Theo waited near the entrance, absent-minded. Robin's words have been echoing in his head since morning. Will he be able to study a major law, like those emperors and their dynasties? It's hardly been more than half a year since he was a naked slave was on a slave's platform, but now he has such a chance? It was so good to be true. He continued his puzzlement for a while until he woke up to the sound of Peon's fingers snapping next to him. 2 more days passed by in the blink of an eye. Robin taught the little girl the energy cultivation technique personally and started teaching her little things that the girl loved so much, like drawing. Although he was a bit harsh in teaching her to draw, and she didn't understand why, especially when it came to precision in drawing circles and curves. But she didn't care. It's still fun. Theo, come on, Robin shouted. Theo, who was busy teaching Peon the new method of training, came to him. He looked at Robin waiting for his instructions, who said while drawing with Zara, "The 3-day deadline is over. Have you decided which path you want?" Theo nodded. Then try pointing out things or explaining it in your own way. Damn it, I should start teaching you to write. Theo hesitated a bit before moving towards the nearby candle and blew it out. The extinguishing law? But it's a minor law. Robin was surprised. Theo shook his head quickly and pointed at the room around him. You mean the dark? Theo nodded heavily. Darkness, I don't think the major law of this path would have high combat abilities. Are you sure you want it? Theo went silent for a bit, then nodded again. Looks like living in the dark ruins has taken a toll on your character. Well, I'll see what I can do. Robin nodded and started thinking about his future plans for extracting the major law of darkness. Big brother Robin, I can teach brother Theo to write if you want, Zara said excitedly and shyly at the same time. As a baron's daughter, she had a high-quality education and certainly more than qualified to teach something as simple as reading and writing. She really wanted to contribute something so that her new master would like her more. Robin patted her head and laughed. Haha, that's good too. It's going to spare me a lot of work, but remember that the first importance is drawing lessons. You can teach him in your spare time. Painting again? Zara was surprised. She finally found something important to do, but her new owner still insists on playing with colors with her. This puzzled her, but also made her happy. It seems that her life will not be so bad as she expected. 8 months have passed quickly. Only 2 months remain until the set date for the fight. Caesar is still locking himself in his room studying. His food and energy stones come in from under the door every day. The only thing that reminds them of his existence is the heat from inside every now and then. Peon increased his level during this period, reaching the 7th and starting to make strides towards the 8th. While Theo is still high at the top of the 7th level, he's about to break into the 8th at any time. Even little Zara jumped to the top of the 4th level. Robin himself ascended a level, but even though he is still at the top of the 5th level, no one around dared to underestimate him. They know very well that their master's strength is not in his muscles, but in his mind. Just 1 month ago, he was able to complete the first level of the Path of Darkness that he made for Theo, and now he's in the midst of turning it into a cultivation technique so Theo can understand it. This was the major law of darkness, something that has not been discovered in the world yet. There are secondary laws associated with it that have been revealed, but the major law itself is completely mysterious. And yet a boy who looks like 13 has managed to do it? But that didn't come easily either. The major law of darkness was much more difficult than the major law of fire to extract its perfect pattern. Robin had to go into deep caves and even dig in his yard and have Theo close the hole on him, all in order to create a good environment to get real darkness he could extract his pattern from. But even though the major law of darkness took a little longer than the fire path to extract and made Robin struggle to get it, the result was much better than he had expected. After about a month of closure, Robin finally came out of his retreat and shouted, "Theo, come here." Theo came excited and terrified of what he was going to hear, until Robin said, "Congratulations to you. At first I thought the law of darkness was going to be about hiding at night or something, but I found much more. Deep abilities such as stealth at any time of the day, swallow abilities, and dark corrosion. I don't know if you meant to ask for this path or not, but you chose well." Robin threw a book of about 700 pages to him. "The path is really not very good as the fire path in close combat, but I think it would be perfect if you chose to be an assassin," Robin hinted, then went back to his room to reward himself with a few days of good sleep, leaving Theo outside. If someone saw his features and heard his heartbeat now, then saw what was in his hand, he would think that he is carrying a box full of treasures and not just a book. But indeed, this book cannot be compared to any treasure. Chapter 24. After giving himself 2 days of uninterrupted sleep as a reward for ending the major law of darkness, Robin came out of his room with a yawn. It's been a while since I had such a good sleep." "Good morning, big brother." Zara came with a smile and greeted him. "Good morning, how is your work on drawing going?" Robin smiled. "It's not bad. What are you going to do today, big brother? Is there something I can help you with?" "I don't know. Whenever I finish a long research, I feel empty." Robin started scratching his head. Zara stood to the side waiting for orders. Although Robin told her to call him big brother, she hadn't forgotten her standing yet. "Never mind, I'll go to the market for a walk. You can go back to your drawing." Robin said, "Peon, bring all the money we have and come with me. We'll go shopping." Robin's first destination was that restaurant which he visited for the first time. Involuntarily coming here from one of his followers became a festive habit after every good achievement. While he and Peon were engrossed in eating, he heard, "The spirit revitalizing pill is really awesome. It gives me an hour to 2 extra hours of work per day." Haha, didn't I tell you? It is said that whoever wants to shine in his field must stay up all night. And that's what the pill does, literally. It clears your mind for 2 hours after you take it. Even if you are about to fall asleep, it will turn you sober, the other guy laughed. But frankly, I thought that its effect would be better given its price. Absolutely not. 20 gold to buy 2 hours of production isn't bad at all. You can make much more than that if you have something important to finish. Robin, who was sitting busy with his food, was attracted by the conversation and listened to you with deep interest. With one look he knew that the two talking guys were about the 2nd or 3rd level. They could be considered mortals, but since they ate in this expensive restaurant and talked about gold coins in this way, they are certainly not that simple. They are certainly from a large family, but they have no talent in cultivation, so they turn to politics or some kind of arts. But this is not what captured Reuben, but rather the talk about that spirit revitalization pill and its high price. 20 coins are roughly equal to his monthly allowance as a young generation in the Burton family. Come on, I found my next goal. Robin wiped his hand and said to Peon, who stuffed the rest of the food into his mouth and followed him. On the streets, he asked about the largest pill shop in the city and went there directly. "Welcome. Is there a specific intention I can help you with?" One of the girls standing by the entrance said respectfully, "I want to know more about the soul revitalizing pill. I heard from a friend that it is very good," Robin replied with a smile. "An excellent choice. The spirit revitalizing pill is made with a blend of natural herbs, and its main ingredient is ginseng leaves. Aged from 20-30 years, the ingredients are completely natural and do not negatively affect the cultivation or mental health in the future." The girl said calmly, "That was general information that anyone interested could know." Robin cursed in secret, "Of course it won't do any harm then. It's just some crushed plants. What's the difference between swallowing a pill and drinking tea?" "Ahem. Then what about its effect across energy levels?" Ask Robin more. "The pill is particularly effective up to the 3rd level. It can take a few more hours of resistance to sleep without fatigue, and it is ideal for politicians and young men who want to increase their training hours to increase their level quickly. As for those from the 4th to 6th levels, they are already able to resist sleeping for 2 or 3 days without a problem, so the pill wouldn't benefit them as much, but it will provide them with some clarity of mind as well, and this helps a lot when trying to break through to a higher level, and its price is just 20 gold coins for one." Lovely. "Well, I'll buy 10 of them," said Robin. The girl was so instantly excited and jumped to fetch him a bottle of 10. "Looks like he's not a poor kid came to talk with beauties." "Are there other pills worth mentioning here?" Robin asked. "Of course, sir. There are pills to increase a person's body affinity for one of the 5 paths of natural elements. Pills are completely naturally formed, like a fire pill made of herbs that are dominated by the fiery attribute that can be found in the edges of volcanoes, and so on. But the problem with these pills is that they are a bit expensive, 200 gold coins per pill, and the extent of what they offer to its consumer decreases as its level increases until it is almost useless at the 11th level. 200 gold coins to increase the affinity by a bit," Robin yelled. "The pill could be said to be more useless than the previous one. Would you, for example, eat water-bearing herbs? Then you would be able to discover the laws in it? No. You'll still need the technique your ancestors left to practice. At the most, this kind of pill can speed up the comprehension of the law technique by a few days." Robin quickly regained his composure. What's next?" "Of course, we cannot forget the healing pills. According to the degree of purity and components of each pill, its effect and its price will vary. For example, the lowest one is 100 gold coins. It increases the natural healing speed by 20% for 5 days. As for the most expensive one we have at the moment, it is 2,000 coins. It can increase the speed of recovery by 60% for 10 days. She said to a girl proudly. But she did not notice the expressions of Robin, who stood stunned. "So technically, 2,000 coins are paid so that the person heals himself within about 6 days instead of 10 days? These pills are useless in critical situations. Maybe completely useless. If I have a few days to heal, Why don't I just wait a few more days? Why would I waste my money on pills at these prices? Is there any other? Robin completely lost hope in this industry. There are many types of pills, my lord. I just mentioned a few that someone of your age and strength might like. There is also the compressed energy pill, but it's a little too expensive. It can give its consumer instantly an amount of energy equivalent to a week of continuous training. The amount decreases in the higher level till it completely disappears at the 12th level. But it's still excellent help for those who are about to break through. Another useless pill. The idea is good, but whoever can buy the little too expensive pill is definitely above the 12th level. Only now did Robin understand why he hadn't seen many pills in the Burton family or even the Bradley institution. Okay, thank you for your time. That's your account. Robin threw a bag of 200 coins at the girl, then left absent-minded, trying to digest all those information and how to use them. He wanted to get home as soon as possible. The only thing that caught his attention on the way back was a shop selling carcasses and hides of beasts. Robin pointed at the red-horned rabbits hanging at the entrance. Bring me 10 red rabbits. Pick them fat. Chapter 25. Another 2 months passed. Robin spent them teaching drawing to Zara and teaching himself at the same time, and a few retreats to cultivate and research that lasted a few days at a time. During the 2 months, he managed to break through to the 5th level as well. After Theo being in a closed-door training on the major heavenly law of darkness, Peon's responsibilities soared sharply. He became responsible for providing food, buying supplies, and fetching resource rations from the treasury. But this also made him begin to feel comfortable in his new home. Realizing that his master doesn't harbor evil intentions toward his sister and treats them well, he decided to abandon his anxiety about him and serve him well. Peon was very busy today, much more than normal, and not just him. The entire institution was on a hot plate. This was the promised day. Exactly a year ago, Remus further provoked the followers of their mortal colleague named Robin. It's then that the latter exploded and announced that Lady Mila was his guardian and that his young brother Caesar would challenge Remus and all his group after 1 year. Anything to do with Lady Mila spreads like wildfire, and that's exactly what happened. After some members of that group gossip and got the news out, it spreads throughout the institution within a few days, which was also the main reason why Robin and his group had not been harassed by anyone else during the year. Everyone was waiting for the outcome. They wanted to know what would happen when Caesar gets killed. Of course, Lady Mila herself heard about what happened shortly after the incident. Humph, he dared to buy himself a whole year based on my name. But does he think that I will intervene to save his brother because he brought my name into the matter? Robin annoyed her so much when they met last time. For some reason, she felt like a little, ignorant girl in front of him and that he is taking advantage of her. This would be a good opportunity to humiliate him. Knock, knock, knock. Robin knocked on Caesar's door. Are you ready? The door slowly opened for the first time in 10 months. Caesar came out with a thick, shiny halberd in one hand and a piece of his previously broken halberd in his other hand. He looked a little taller than before, his features sharper, and his strength. At the 8th level, he jumped from a mere mortal to the 8th level in just a year and a half. The oppressive feeling he produced just by standing up made Peon, who was watching from behind, shiver and unknowingly take a step back. This was the first time he saw the guy he was delivering the food for all those months. Ready, Caesar calmly. I trust that you will not disgrace me. You will not disgrace the perfect major heavenly law of fire, and you will not disgrace yourself. Robin nodded and turned and walked out the door, behind him Caesar and Peon, leaving Theo in his seclusion and Zara in her drawing. In the main square of the institution was a circular stage with a diameter of about 50 meters and surrounded by stands that could accommodate about 1,000 people. Here is where the professors friendly fight each other to farther demonstrate their techniques in front of the students. At times, the head of the institution himself comes to give a lecture. And of course, it's used to host fights between the students. Even though these are done in a friendly way as exchanges of experience, in some extreme cases it can be used to settle grudges. But it is still forbidden to make any deep wounds to the opponent. Bradley's military institution is full of the sons of nobles, and the institution does not want to face angry nobles every now and then. Unless a contract was signed between the two parties to bear any losses, and this was announced before the fight. In this case, the institution renounces any responsibility and stands to watch on the side. The head of the institution was waiting every day patiently for a letter from Lady Mila to stop the fight, but he did not receive anything. He even sent her a guard a few days ago asking for her opinion, and her response was, "That little bastard hadn't come to beg for his life yet. You can just wait until his brother loses a limb or almost dies, then stop the fight." And there they are, a few minutes remaining, and there was no other message from Lady Mila. All she did was send her Uncle Brown to watch what was going on her behalf, and the head of the institution invited him to sit with him at the seats of honor, to be close to the stage to intervene at any moment. Professors, students, and even some guards and slaves began to fill the stands until there was almost no empty seat left. Even one of the professors took his place in the middle of the stage as the referee, with a contract of agreeing to renounce the responsibility of the institution toward this fight in his hand. Now, nothing is missing except the parties. Haha, I am honored that all fellow disciples and honored professors came to see my humble fight. I promise you will not be disappointed. Remus came in and yelled in a loud voice, attracting the attention of the audience. But he found a complete silence, not the reaction he expected, which bothered him so much. I know that you all want to see whether Lady Mila would come today, and you don't care about the fight itself, but at least don't make it so obvious. Behind him was walking 4 young men and 3 girls, all the members of the group that Robin challenged that day, all sons and daughters of highly ranked nobles, as the least of them is the son of a baron. The 8 made their to the stage and sat waiting for the challenger. Although they seemed to be relaxed, they were a long way from it. Smearing Lady Mila's name in a low-level duel like this was not a good idea. They wanted to end this Caesar quickly, then get back to what they were doing. Haha, looks like the fight is about to start. Young Robin has arrived with a brother. The professor on the stage said when he spotted Robin's group of 3 coming towards the stage, but the words quickly got stuck in his throat. Uncle Brown and the head of the institution looked at each other in disbelief as well. All the professors noticed it by now, and even the most powerful of the students opened their eyes wide. What the hell is going on? One of the relatively weak disables in the stands did not understand the reactions and asked a senior next to him, "Brother, why are you all so surprised?" That senior kept focusing on Caesar but said slowly, "Caesar. He's at the 8th level." Those words resounded in the silent stands as if it were the fuse that lit a bomb. How can he possibly reach the 8th level? It is common knowledge that he was just a mortal when he entered the institution a year and a half ago. 8 levels in a year and a half. Monster. Oh my God. Have I been cultivating wrong all this time? Wait. The 8th level at the age of 13. Isn't that a little faster than Mrs. Mila? It is unknown who said it, but it was like a thunderbolt that struck everyone. But Lady Mila has been training from the age of 2, while Caesar was just a mortal a year and a half ago. Someone said what was on everybody's mind. The voices rose in succession. Even some of the professors stood in their places trying to comprehend what was going on. Even Robin is at the 5th level. This is also an incredible speed. But that was quickly put down. Compared to Caesar, who jumped 8 levels, Robin is simply trash. Amid shouting and questions, Caesar raised his halberd and rammed it to the ground, making the audience fell quiet. Then he jumped on the stage with his new halberd in his hand, stand upright in the middle of it, producing a suppressing aura that made everyone question their senses. This aura is not supposed to come out of a person of the 8th level. A professor couldn't help but say in a quiet voice while shaking his head, "My God, are we witnessing the birth of an absolute genius?"